What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 8mm Chapter 161, Ohara Annihilation Plan, please customize. Advertisement soon. Chen arrived at the door of the Marshal's office. After knocking on the door of the Marshal's office was opened, and Kong's slightly anxious face appeared in Chen's sight. Marshal Kong, what do you want from me? Chen was a little surprised. Kong rarely showed such an expression. What kind of big event could make him so anxious? Kong did not speak, but turned around and motioned for Chen to sit down first. You should know about Lorik Redfield, the Red Earl, right? After both of them sat down, Kong looked at Chen and asked solemnly. What's wrong, isn't that just a pirate? Yes, but he is not an ordinary pirate, but a great pirate as famous as Gold D. Roger and Edward Newgate. Chen disagrees. No matter how famous they are, pirates are just pirates. They are all lawbreakers who like to make trouble and flaunt their freedom. So what if he is known as the Pirate King? Roger's strength was only this, and he wasn't arrested like 27. 2 days ago, a marine branch was attacked by pirates. Taking a deep breath, Kong slowly explained the whole story. The attacker was the Red Earl. With just one person, he injured many senior members of the branch and stole the heavenly gold. Oh, is he so arrogant? Li raised his eyebrows slightly. Those who dared to attack the marine branch were not ordinary pirates, but pirates who would definitely be arrested by him and imprisoned and impelled down. Moreover, most of the pirates who dared to come out to cause trouble at this juncture are rebellious, so it would be better to deal with them as soon as possible. It used to be a small fuss, so we didn't pay too much attention to him, but recently it's been really noisy. Kong rubbed his temples and looked at Chen with a headache. However, ordinary people are not his opponent. Chen took over what Kong said. So, Mr. Kong wants me to deal with him. That would be great. I think you are the only one in the entire Marine headquarters who can easily solve this problem. Kong breathed a sigh of relief and then handed a document to Chen. This is the whereabouts of the Red Earl that we investigated. He should be hiding on an island in New World. Our investigators will continue to give you information about the specific island. Advertisement. Chen looked through the documents a few times, and after confirming that they were correct, he took the order and left. Although I miss my wife and daughter very much, it is also important to follow the justice in my heart, so I can only feel sorry for them for the time being. After this mission is over, he will definitely ask Kong for a short vacation to go back and spend some time with them. Afterwards, he went to the training ground to guide the training of 5 little girls. After learning that he was leaving for a while, the little girls all seemed a little reluctant to leave. Brother Chen, how long will it take for you to come back? Yamato, who has the most outgoing personality, looked at Chen and asked, his beautiful eyes full of reluctance. I don't know, it could be a few days at least, or half a month at most. In this regard, Kongba was not sure. He didn't know the specific hiding place of the Red Earl, so he couldn't use the Flying Thunder God and could only keep sailing on the sea. Ah, it takes so long. Hearing this, Yamato pouted, Hancock let out a long sigh, and the other 3 children expressed their disappointment. Chen had no choice but to touch their heads one by one. You are not allowed to be lazy while I am away. After listening to Chen's words, several young girls quickly cheered up, especially Yamato, who kept shouting that they would cultivate to a higher level before returning from the journey. Brother Chen, just wait and see, I will definitely become more powerful. Chen laughed. This little girl Yamato is really lively. These girls were still young and did not need Chen's constant guidance, so he directly gave them to Momosagi to take care of them. With Momosagi here, he can capture the Red Earl without any worries. After explaining what he had done after leaving, Chen carefully read through the information Kong had given him. According to the data, the Red Earl is a strong man who works alone. He can annihilate a small and medium-sized fleet by himself. In the original work, the Red Earl alone is enough to rival the Roger Pirates. As you can imagine, although he is a lone ranger. However, it is very powerful, and his whereabouts are elusive. Advertisement. It's not easy to find him. After Chen selected a few branch soldiers who were relatively strong and understood the specifics of the Red Earl's attack as crew members, he left the headquarters on a small ship and embarked on a journey to hunt down the Red Earl. Shortly after Chen left, the Holy Land suddenly secretly summoned several marine senior officials, including but not limited to generals from the Mesozoic era such as Perusalino, Kuzan, and Ghost Spider. They were ordered to arrive on a large warship. Everyone looked at each other blankly. This is a direct summons from the world government. Something terrible must have happened somewhere in the world. At this time, a marine vice admiral came out of the cabin. Perusalino looked around at the general standing in front of him, his heart full of doubts. They are still conducting research on such taboo matters. They are really a bunch of ignorant scholars. Spanda looked at the order issued by his superior and raised his eyebrows slightly. This is a mass murder weapon used to completely eliminate everyone and everything in an area that poses a threat to the rule of the world government. But, suddenly, Perusalino's eyes glanced at the silver telephone boat on the central table of Class A, and his pupils contracted violently. On the other side, CP9 also received the news. If you guessed it correctly, this is a buster call for 650. The Ohara Annihilation Plan is about to begin. He read out the document in his hand to the other vice admirals. Ohara intends to resurrect ancient weapons and is a demon who wants to destroy the world. In order to protect peace, the world government hereby sends us to Ohara to destroy the demon. Secretly go to South Blue, mobilize the power of the South Blue Sol branch, and launch an attack on Ohara together. Only Kuzan was secretly worried. Spangdane smiled contemptuously, then began to summon the members of CP9 and issued the order. For such a big thing, why is Skyrim Vice Admiral not here? He is the backbone of Marine. Collect Ohara's research on the lost 100 years and wipe it off the map. After hearing this, all the Marines suddenly understood and drove the ships to sail quickly in the direction of South Blue. Buster Call, authorized by the world government and established by Marine headquarters, conducts indiscriminate and devastating attacks on areas where signals are sent. Chapter 162. Dracula Island, the Red Count's Despair. Advertisement. This is the 7th day of Lu Chen's pursuit of the Red Earl. It has to be said that this great pirate who is as famous as Roger is quite good at hiding his traces. At 10 o'clock at noon, there was a scorching sun overhead, not a cloud in the sky, and not a breath of wind. Suddenly, a Marine scout shouted excitedly, "We found a small island about 5 nautical miles to the southeast." Hearing the news, all the Marine soldiers became excited. As expected, that's where the Red Earl is hiding. Lu Chen slowly walked to the bow of the ship and gave the order, "Go ahead at full speed." Soon after, the warship docked at the shore, and Lu Chen led Marine soldiers to land on the island. Dracula Island. A strange island in the New World. Observation hockey was released, and it didn't take long before Lu Chen locked onto the Red Earl who was in the center of the island. This great pirate, who had just attacked the Marine branch, snatched the gold from the sky and was about to leave, and whose reputation rivaled that of Roger and Whitebeard, was very surprised by Lu Chen's sudden appearance. His ability to conceal his whereabouts is top-notch. How did Marine find this place? Although he was confused, he was not afraid to retreat, and instead attacked directly towards Lu Chen and their landing place. Not long after, a crimson figure appeared in front of Lu Chen. The man is tall and thin, with white hair braided into 2 braids hanging on his shoulders. He is wearing a crimson shirt and trousers, and a large cloak on his shoulders with 10 blue roses tied in it. He is the man known as the Red Earl, Beloric Redfield. But the Red Earl has no consciousness of being a fugitive. He still behaved elegantly and said to Lu Chen, "Is this the Vice Admiral who arrested Roger?" Although it was a question, there was no doubt in his tone. Lu nodded slightly and said with a smile, "Redfield, it seems that you are very self-aware and came directly to surrender. Don't worry, we will arrange a special prison for you at the bottom of Impel Down." "Ha ha ha ha, you want to arrest me?" After hearing what Lu said, the Red Earl burst out laughing. "I'm not like Roger, who has so many worries. Want to arrest me? Just dream." With that said, the Red Earl moved. At some point, a slender bat-handled umbrella appeared in his palm. It appeared next to Lu Chen in an instant at extremely fast speed. Advertisement. The long umbrella wrapped around armament hockey and swept directly towards Lu Chen. Lu Chen disappeared from the spot in an instant, and then appeared behind the Red Earl. So fast! The Red Earl was shocked, but he reacted immediately, jumped several times in succession, and left Lu Chen's attack range. The strength of this Vice Admiral cannot be underestimated. It seems that if you want to leave here today, you must make some efforts. The Red Earl calmed down and activated his perception of seeing, hearing and color. Wen Sei's top-notch perception ability can not only sense other people's next moves, but even know other people's hearts. It is precisely because of this ability that he has become so prosperous in the pirate world. He can keep pace with Roger and Whitebeard by himself. Let him see what Marine Vice Admiral is really like in his heart. The Red Earl smiled sinisterly, but the next second, the expression on his face completely froze. He actually couldn't understand Lu Chen's heart at all. This has never happened since he was born. The Red Earl could only convince himself that what happened just now was an accident, and he just needed to calm down and try again. However, Lu Chen's heart is like a dark bottomless pit, and he can't see the end at all. This is impossible. The Red Earl's consciousness stood in the endless darkness, roaring unwillingly. Lu was naturally aware of the Red Earl's actions. His consciousness moved slightly and he also used observation hockey. The Red Earl suddenly discovered that Lu Chen's inner world had turned into a swamp and was quickly swallowing his consciousness. His pupils contracted violently and he immediately gave up the use of sight, hearing and color perception. Looking at the somewhat lost Red Earl, Lu Chen smiled contemptuously. A sinful pirate can never understand the heart of a righteous Marine. With that said, Lu Chen pulled out the Kyoga Suigetsu, and the powerful power was exuded, making the Red Count breathless. "No, you have to escape." The Red Earl became more and more determined in his heart that this idea would invalidate his sense of sight, hearing and color, and Lu Chen's strength was unfathomable. If he doesn't escape, he will definitely be captured alive by Lu Chen. Advertisement. The Red Earl adjusted his mentality, then raised his umbrella sword and slashed out with sword energy one after another. Countless black sword energies with terrifying power were densely attacking Lu Chen. At the moment when the sword energy was about to engulf Lu Chen, he raised his hand slightly, and a storm of sword energy rose into the sky, directly scattering several sword energy close to him, and then headed towards Hong, who was trying to escape. The sword energy storm stirred up a burst of sand and dust, covering the Red Earl. The Red Earl was so blown away that he almost couldn't open his eyes, but fortunately observation hockey was not a decoration. The umbrella sword drew across in front of him, and the majestic sword energy steadily blocked the oncoming storm. Watching the battle between Lu Chen and Redfield, all the soldiers in the Marine branch became excited. This was their first time to watch Lu Chen fight with their own eyes. This is the power of Vice Admiral, unparalleled and extremely powerful. Lu Chen didn't even blink. Countless trees grew rapidly from the ground. In an instant, a forest grew on the gloomy island. With Vice Admiral here, first believe Marine will be able to eliminate all these evil-doing pirates soon. The layers of branches resisted the attack of the sword energy. Lu Chen concentrated Haki on the blade, and appeared in front of the Red Count like an arrow. The respect that these Marine branch soldiers have for Lu Chen has become even more profound. The violent sword energy was domineering and fierce, turning into a long black dragon, roaring and lunging at the Red Earl. Lu Chen did not give the Red Earl time to breathe. He flashed again, holding the Kyoka Suigetsu in his hand to his chest, and slashed out like a wolf. After resisting the storm of sword energy, the Red Earl's eyes became more solemn. Lu Chen's two fast movements made the Red Earl lose his mind for a moment, but he quickly reacted. Armament Haki also concentrated on the umbrella sword and hastily resisted Lu Chen's attack. It is also the 8 sword energy, but it is more fierce than the sword energy attack released by Lu Chen. After, the one who got the money, shattered Lu Chen's sword energy, these sword energy groups that covered the sky and sun shrouded down towards Lu Chen. 8 rays of sword energy shot out like meteors, heading towards each joint of the Red Earl's body. He knew that Vice Admiral was a master of swordsmanship, but he didn't expect that his swordsmanship level had reached such a high level. Just one sword energy can sweep through the storm. But the Red Earl was not a vegetarian, and he hurriedly displayed his sword skills. Suddenly, a sword energy flew out from the sand and dust that had not dispersed, and passed by the feet of the Red Earl. This is Marine 6 styles. Lu Chen's too strong force made the Red Earl's jaw go numb and he took several steps back. Lu Chen's figure appeared from the cracks in the sand and dust. The Kyoka Suigetsu sword energy in his hand condensed, and then the blade shook slightly. Wood style the tree world is coming. Advertisement chapter 163. Break it into pieces, Kyoka Suigetsu, please customize. Advertisement, no, it's too late. The Red Earl had just managed to stabilize his figure, and the black dragon with sword energy was already close in front of him. If this blow hits him, he will definitely be unable to fight back. His face was extremely heavy, and there was no time to escape. Now he could only fight back. Damn it, I won't lose. The Red Earl roared angrily, and his aura instantly reached its peak. Armament Haki launched with all his strength, covering his entire body at once. Several rays of sword energy were slashed out, successfully weakening the power of many black dragons. Then, the Red Earl put the umbrella sword in front of him to resist. With a clang sound, the black dragon of sword energy swallowed the Red Earl instantly. Under the huge pressure of the sword energy, a large crater was directly blasted out of the ground. The next second, the black fog dissipated, revealing the figure of the Red Earl. As expected of Vice Admiral, the Red Earl took a breath and sighed. He looked a little embarrassed, and the tiger's mouth of the umbrella sword he was holding tightly was cracked by the huge force, and a few drops of blood fell to the ground. The Red Earl gritted his teeth and decisively struck first. A huge sword energy mixed with armament Haki went straight towards Lu Chen, who was motionless. After releasing this full blow, the Red Earl turned around and ran away. He didn't want to keep fighting this scary Marine. 763. However, Lulu's face was calm and unruffled. He slowly held the hilt of the knife, his eyes filled with shocking sword intent. The Red Earl couldn't help but look back. Wherever he looked, Lu Chen was nowhere to be seen, only a black stream of light, as fast as lightning, heading straight towards him. The Red Earl's eyes widened in shock. He had only one thought in his mind at this time. Fast. So fast. The Red Earl immediately mobilized armament Haki to resist, but the black lightning still passed through him instantly. In front of him, Lu Chen's figure slowly emerged. He turned around and looked at the Red Count, who was standing motionless not far away. The Kyoka Suigetsu in his hand was stained with blood, and blood fell down the tip of the knife. Tick-tock. The Red Earl seemed to have experienced what had just happened, but severe pain was coming from his chest. Advertisement he instantly realized that he was injured. With a pop sound, the Red Earl knelt down on one knee. He touched the scar on his chest with his hand, feeling the long-lost pain. Because of the protection of armament Haki, the scar was not too deep. Even so, it should not be underestimated. Is this the strength of the Marine Vice Admiral who arrested Roger? Lord Hong, B. always believed that his swordsmanship could be called the best in the world, but today, he felt the pressure. It turns out that there really is such a grandmaster swordsman in the world. Looking at the pale Earl Red, Lu said calmly, "You can't escape. Since you have chosen to become a pirate, you must be prepared to be arrested by Marine and give up your struggle." But the Red Earl was unwilling to give in. He hasn't become a pirate like Brook, so how can he give up right now? Thinking of his idol, the Red Count once again ignited his fighting spirit. "I won't give in here." The Red Earl stood up steadily with his umbrella sword in hand, and the expression on his face gradually became ferocious. And Lu sneered, which immediately dampened his fighting spirit. "Then just try. Struggle will only make your ending more tragic." As he spoke, Lu Chen raised the Kyoka Suigetsu in his hand, pointing the tip of the knife at the Red Earl, and the cold intention continued to emanate outwards. He said coldly, "It's my turn next." He has had Kyoka Suigetsu for so long, but has not used its power once. This time is just right, he can experiment with Redfield. After listening to Lu Chen's words, the Red Earl raised his head and stared at Lu Chen blankly. "Zanpakuto liberation. Shatter it, Kyoka Suigetsu." The Red Earl was shocked to find that Chen had disappeared on the spot, and the forest he summoned had also disappeared without a trace in an instant. What's happening here? The Red Earl rubbed his eyes in disbelief. Was he dreaming just now? Just when the Red Earl was full of doubts, Chen suddenly appeared behind him, raising the long knife in his hand and about to stab him. The Red Earl was startled for a moment, then ducked away, but Chen disappeared. The next second, Chen appeared next to him again, still looking ready to attack him. Advertisement. The Red Earl jumped up and avoided the blow again. Before his brain could react, Chen's figure appeared again and again in different directions, which forced him to keep dodging. Dodging all the way, the Red Count quickly exhausted all his remaining energy. At this moment, several Chens appeared around the Red Earl. They all looked ruthless and surrounded him with Kyoka Suigetsu held high. Without paying attention, the Red Earl's foot slipped, and with a pop sound, he fell to the ground in a very inelegant posture. It's over. The Red Earl thought desperately. For a moment, the memories of the past flashed through his mind like a revolving lantern, and finally settled on Chen's face. The expected pain did not appear. After a while, the Red Earl was sure that Chen did not attack him again. Could it be that God heard his prayer? Rubbing his aching chest, the Red Earl slowly stood up. All of them were trying their best to hold back their laughter until their faces turned red. What's going on? As soon as he raised his head, he found a group of marine soldiers in front of him. Is this your ability? With the existence of Chen, the world of pirates may soon face a fatal blow. In the eyes of others, the Red Earl is like a clown, afraid of these trees, and the slightest disturbance can frighten him greatly. Zanpakuto Kyoka Suigetsu's ability is complete hypnosis, controlling the five senses of the liberator he sees, making him completely believe everything about a specific object as the interpretation desired by the master. Chen stood there, his cloak with the word, justice, written on it fluttering in the wind behind him. In the eyes of the Marine Branch soldiers, he was like a god descending to earth. At this time, the Red Count had mixed emotions. At this moment, Chen slowly walked out of the forest behind him, clapped his hands and said, "It's a good performance. It seems that my soldiers all like it. Even such a strong person can control it. The Eisen template is indeed very powerful. I told you, you can't escape." It has been so long since Chen obtained Kyoka Suigetsu that he exerted almost 30% of his power in the first test and controlled the Red Earl to death. Although the Red Earl may have consumed too much energy and suffered from mental weakness, it could still be considered a success. When he liberated Kyoka Suigetsu, the Red Earl happened to look directly at his Zanpakuto and was suddenly given hypnosis by him. The Red Earl was completely confused. He made the Red Earl believe that every tree in his tree realm arrival was himself about to attack him. The Red Earl was already heartbroken. He lay on the ground in despair and allowed the Marine Branch soldiers to put sea-stone handcuffs on him. Chapter 164. West Blue War. Gathering Ohara, please customize. Advertisement. After successfully capturing the Red Earl, Chen asked the Marine Branch soldiers to return to the branch first, while he sent the Red Earl to impel down alone. On the way, he notified Kong via a telephone bug. "I know that you can easily defeat the Red Earl." Kong laughed with satisfaction after hearing the news that Chen had successfully arrested the Red Earl. Chen's prestige is constantly increasing through this incident again and has now reached its peak. If the news is released that he personally captured the Red Earl, people's respect for him will probably rise to another level. By then, he should no longer shirk his position as Marine Admiral. Thinking of this, Kong chuckled twice. "Chen, your reputation has grown a lot during this time." As soon as Chen heard Kong's voice, he knew what he wanted to say, and immediately interrupted his thoughts. "Sorry, Mr. Kong, I have no idea of being an admiral yet." After hearing what Chen said, Kong was startled at first, and then said angrily, "Hey, you B**************, D. You really want to make me angry to death? So many people are eager for the position of Marine Admiral, why can you? How about turning a blind eye to it?" Chen looked at the white clouds passing above his head and said nothing. "Oh, forget it, let's not talk about these unpleasant topics." Not getting a reply from Chen, Kong stopped dwelling on the topic and started chatting. "You young people have been busy lately, and we old bones have nothing to do." Thinking of the recent transfer of generals, Kong couldn't help but feel a little melancholy. Sooner or later, the future of this sea will belong to young people like you. "Marshal Kong, I'm already in my 30s, so I can't be considered a young man." Chen retorted slightly to Kong. "Moreover, no matter how many pirates are hunted down, this sea will always be safe. You kid, don't act like a good boy when you get an advantage." Kong almost spat out a mouthful of water. He could almost imagine Chen crossing his legs and saying these words leisurely and contentedly. Arresting the Pirate King Gold D. Roger is something that many Marines have dreamed of doing. Even Garp always thought about it before. After a pause, he continued, "Not to mention that you have arrested Red now, Count." "No, this is far from enough." Shook his head. "My goal is to wipe out all pirates in this sea, no matter how big or small." Advertisement. Good ambition. Kong slapped the table with satisfaction and said to Chen, "Recently, the world government seems to be paying more attention to the issue of pirates and reactionary forces. Many strong generals in the headquarters have been sent to West Blue by the Holy Land. The order in that sea area has indeed always been chaotic. The speaker has no intention, the listener has intention." Chen immediately became alert. West Blue was where Ohara was. The transfer of personnel on this scale will never be used to solve ordinary problems. Could it be that the world government discovered that Ohara scholars had been studying a blank for 100 years? This is not good news. Chen frowned, and after chatting casually with Kong for a few more words, he immediately hung up the phone and prepared to ask Ohara about Ohara's current news. What's wrong with this kid? Kong did not know about Chen's connection with Ohara, nor did he know that the celestial dragons had information about Chen and Ohara. Kong put down the phone and murmured in confusion. But he could feel the anxiety in Chen's tone at the end of the call. Could it be that this kid is angry because he was not notified of the suppression of reactionary forces? The waters near West Blue, Ohara. After receiving the order from the CPO, several warships came from various branches of West Blue and gathered together. Perusalino, Kuzan and others who came from naval headquarters also slowly gathered together. This was the first time for Perusalino to see such a scene. As far as the eye can see, there are the strongest and most offensive warships manufactured by the Royal Shipyard of the capital of Seven Waters. Each battleship is equipped with nearly 1,000 elite marine soldiers wearing white military uniforms with the word Justice printed on the back, and a rear admiral serves as the deputy commander of the battleship. The battleship they were on was the seat of the commander-in-chief. Advertisement: this is the Marine Buster Call, an extremely terrifying combat power that can level any island. Please give me flowers. At this time, all the soldiers were waiting for the order to attack. And inside the Tree of Omniscience is the largest and oldest library in the world. Although scholars are the pride of the island, they have brought huge disasters this time, and the residents have no time to worry about them anymore. The residents of the island are also proud of these scholars. West Blue, the Tree of Knowledge that symbolizes Ohara, is located in the center of the island. CP9, an important member of the world government who came to investigate, claimed that the archaeologists on this island are all demons who are trying to restore the ancient weapon and destroy the world. They launched a large-scale manhunt across the island and required residents on the island who had nothing to do with the scholars to immediately evacuate to refuge ships. Suddenly, there was chaos on the island, and all the people in Ohara fled in a hurry. Launch a full-scale attack on Ohara. Today, this pride is about to disappear. After all, the law enforcement officer's words, our obligation is only to deliver the evacuate notice, and we will bear the consequences of everything else, are ruthless at every turn. Who dares to make fun of their own property and life? Faced with this statement, residents raised great doubts. After all, they have lived side by side with those scholars called devils for so long. The excellent conduct displayed by the scholars in their daily lives makes it difficult for them to believe this. Since ancient times, countless documents and materials have been brought here from all over the world, and many outstanding scholars from all over the world have been attracted to study these books day and night. Moreover, this sudden arrest operation revealed that something was wrong. Spanquin looked at everything on the island, dialed the phone, and issued instructions to all warships. There are also CP9 members in the CP organization. Among them, CP9 Chief Spangdine has led several CP9 members into Ohara and began a large-scale manhunt. It is said that the commander of this operation is a CPO from the Holy Land. Although they had doubts, in the face of this fierce arrest operation, the residents were afraid that they would be considered as relevant personnel of scholars, and then arrested, so they did not say anything. Chapter 165. Is that the wife of Vice Admiral? Please customize. Advertisement: several warships received the order and sailed towards Ohara. That scene was extremely spectacular, and in New World. After hanging up the call with Kong, Chen immediately contacted Albia. Hello? Is this Mr. Chen? The moment he heard Albia's voice, Chen's heart dropped to the ground. Well, it's me. Thinking of the gentleness and loveliness of his wife and daughter, Chen unconsciously put a smile on his face. I plan to go back to see you soon. Really, that's great, Mr. Chen, I really miss you. After hearing what Chen said, Albia's voice was full of surprise. I miss you and Robin too. Chen smiled and said that although he was happy that his wife missed him so much, he had not forgotten Jungjoon. By the way, how is your research on 460 going lately? Ah, haven't I told Mr. Chen about this yet? Albia was surprised, her voice full of annoyance. During the last seminar, I shared Mr. Chen's ideas with everyone. Many scholars agree with this. They said that archaeologists have been pursuing the meaning of archaeology for many years. They are very grateful to Mr. Chen for pointing them in the direction. As he spoke, Albia started laughing unconsciously. From Albia's words, Chen learned that the scholars of Ohara are now divided into two factions. One of the factions is headed by Dr. Albia and Clover, and its core is what Chen originally called protective archaeology. The core of the other faction, in the name of archaeological excavation, wants to obtain the truth that has been blank for 100 years. This still gave him a headache. Perhaps, the world government knew that these scholars wanted to study this blank 100 years, and then decided to destroy Ohara in advance. Chen was about to say something more when a violent explosion suddenly came from the other end of the phone, and Albia suddenly lost his voice. Advertisement, Albia? Lulu asked anxiously, and after a few seconds, Albia's worried voice came over. Mr. Chen, there was an explosion at the Tree of Omniscience. I have to go and take a look now. 17. After that, she hung up the phone. West Blue, Ohara. After interrupting the call with Chen, Albia took Robin and rushed to the Tree of Omniscient anxiously. A raging fire has been ignited around this ancient tree, which is said to contain the knowledge of the entire world. Under the roots of the Tree of Omniscient, a government employee wearing a black suit and a gentleman's hat was assigning tasks to his subordinates. After receiving the order, the members of CP9 also accelerated the pace of the search. Those scholars have to be careful even when browsing, for fear that damaged ancient books and carefully written works will be thrown on the floor casually, and tall bookshelves will be overturned. Pieces of smoke and dust rose up. The CP9 members who conducted the search randomly opened up the storage rooms containing precious ancient cultural relics one by one, and turned them over into a mess. No one could come to stop their atrocities, because Dr. Clover and a group of scholars who initially tried to stop them had already suffered a bloody blow under the forceful arrest of Spangdine and other CP9. The government officers responsible for guarding the scene, armed with long guns, formed a circle and surrounded the arrested scholars. Dr. Clover. Robin couldn't help but scream when he saw the injured scholars, and Orbia also covered her mouth in shock. Their research was eventually discovered by the world government. Orbia looked at the surrounding seas, and saw 7 or 8 warships docked in the distance, with artillery aimed at Ohara, forming a powerful deterrent. She reacted immediately and wanted to call Lu Chen's phone number. Boom. Just then, a bullet shattered her phone bug. Spangdane held a long gun and led several CP9 members to walk toward Albia and her daughter aggressively. What do you want to do? Advertisement. Albia frowned and looked at Spangdine warily. We only need to dig 3 feet here, and we will immediately find the evidence that you have studied the historical text. The world government has already been confident. Spangdine spread his hands and explained happily, we have arrested people all over the world. Why are the historical text explorers always inextricably connected with Ohara? Upon hearing this, he combined with several warships docked in the sea area, and with Orbia's intelligence, he immediately guessed the world government's plan. She said with a trembling voice, are you planning to give Ohara to? Ignore her and launch the attack as planned, sir. The woman standing in front of CP9 is the wife of Vice Admiral, and that girl should also be their daughter. Sir. After thinking about it, Albia stared at the domineering man in front of her, her eyes filled with anger. However, we do not want to publish these studies to the public. Our purpose is to protect history, not to let them destroy the world order. Take care of her, and, in the next second, he directly ordered many warships to prepare for bombardment. Sir, should we take action to help Mrs. Vice Admiral evacuate O'Hare? Isn't this the wife of Vice Admiral? Kill the chicken to scare the monkeys. Ohara is the chicken that is about to be slaughtered. The CPO smiled sinisterly and signaled the Marine to hang up the phone, but he directly ignored Saul's report. As Spangdine finished speaking, several CP9 members looked at Albia with fierce eyes. Spangdine raised his hands in the air and laughed proudly. Yes, as long as the holy land of archaeology Ohara is destroyed, the whole world will be shocked, and they will also understand what the consequences of studying the blank 100 years will be. After listening to Saul's words, the operator broke into a cold sweat and looked at the CPO commander with pleading eyes. Humph, I don't care what your purpose is. Spangdine's mouth opened wide. This operation is already a sure win. As a victor, it's not too much to talk about the feeling of being a planner to a dying person. Good. Just as Orbia was confronting Spangdine, Saul also saw her through the telescope. Saul was immediately frightened. He knew the relationship between Albia and Lu Chen. If Albia was accidentally injured, the wrath of Vice Admiral would be unbearable for them. Sao 4.3 Luo did not dare to delay and immediately called Zhang and reported to the CPO, who was the commander-in-chief of the operation. Chapter 166. Lu Chen appears, frightening everyone. Please customize. Advertisement. Saul was a little overwhelmed when he was ignored, but his level was limited to this and he could not interfere with higher-level commands. In a hurry, Saul thought of his friend Kuzan. He is a senior commander transferred directly from the Marine headquarters, so he must be able to talk directly to the commander-in-chief. On the warship, Kuzan was arranging a sun lounger lazily, waiting for the order to attack. In fact, he was actually quite resistant to this military strike in his heart. In his opinion, Marines should spare no effort to deal with only those pirates who commit heinous crimes. Instead of dealing with these powerless scholars, let alone innocent civilians. Although these scholars did violate the laws of the world, completely destroying Ohara Island was a step too far. In addition to these criminal scholars, there are more civilians living on the island. Although Buster Call can eliminate these demons, it will also cause countless civilians to lose their homes. But as a Marine, you must obey orders even if you don't agree with them in your heart. This is his realization as a Marine soldier. Kuzan was sighing silently in his heart. 27 Suddenly, his thoughts were interrupted by the sound of a phone bug. It was a call from his friend Saul. Kuzan, something bad has happened. Saul shouted anxiously as soon as the call was connected. The wife and daughter of Vice Admiral are on Ohara Island. What? Kuzan was shocked, and there was a crack in the iceberg face that remained unchanged in 10,000 years. One is surprised that Vice Admiral actually has a wife and daughter, and the other is surprised that his wife and daughter are actually residents of Ohara. Kuzan, I just contacted the commander-in-chief, but got no response. In this operation, apart from the commander-in-chief, you are the ones with the highest rank. Think of a way. Kuzan was still immersed in the emotion of surprise, but Saul's words suddenly pulled him out. However, the distance between them is too far, and there is no way to understand the truth of the matter. I know, I will find a way. Kuzan sighed and turned around to land on the island to find the CPO commander. If it didn't work, he would first use his identity as a guarantee to protect the safety of Albia and his daughter. Marine heroes like Vice Admiral shouldn't be chilled by these things. Boom! Advertisement. Suddenly, a violent sound was made from one of the roots of the tree of omniscientity, and thick smoke rose, interrupting everyone's thoughts. Marine launched a cannonball attack on Ohara. A hole. What do you think this library is? The scholars' angry shouts came one after another, and even Dr. Clover, who had prepared for the worst, couldn't help but sweat. First didn't expect Marine to be so brutal. They can die for the truth and devote themselves to knowledge, but they will never allow knowledge to be destroyed. Are the countless books that contain the wisdom of our ancestors stored in the tree of omniscience going to be burned to the ground today? This is absolutely unacceptable to them. What are you doing, Box? Albia's pupils shrank violently. She protected Robin behind her and shouted angrily. The members of CP9 did not stop arresting the mother and daughter, but moved forward even faster. Ouch! Can you please be gentle? At this moment, a cry of pain came from behind Albia. Lu Chen suddenly appeared behind Albia, with the Red Earl trapped in a rice dumpling next to him. This sudden change. The smoke-filled atmosphere in the venue suddenly came to a halt. The CP9 members who wanted to step forward were stunned for a moment, then were frightened and froze in place. Vice Admiral. How could he appear here? Spangdine was also dumbfounded. He didn't know how Lu Chen appeared here in an instant, but the reputation of Marine's legendary hero was enough to frighten these spies and dare not move. The appearance of Lu Chen is like a god coming down to earth, bringing a ray of hope to save Ohara. Albia looked at Lu Chen's handsome face with tears in her eyes. Here, Vice Admiral, why did you suddenly come to Ohara? Spangdine rubbed his hands and said with a smile. Lu Chen hugged Robin with one arm and Albia with the other, and said calmly to Spangdine, I'm here to pick up my wife and daughter. Advertisement. Hearing Lu Chen's words, Albia lowered her head shyly. Wife and daughter? Spangdine was stunned. He never imagined that Lu Chen would actually be related to the scholars of Ohara. The scholars who were bundled together could not help but widen their eyes. They had never heard Albia say that her husband was actually a big shot in Marine. For a moment, the whole place was silent, and the scene here was naturally seen by everyone on the warship. Saul breathed a sigh of relief and couldn't help but shed tears of joy while holding the phone. Great, the Vice Admiral of Heavenly Punishment is here in person, and the wife's safety is completely guaranteed. Kuzan also relaxed in an instant. He stopped preparing to release his fruit power and leaned leisurely on the edge of the boat. This weird scene made all the Marine generals dumbfounded. But no one expected that Lu could solve the Red Earl's problem so easily. That, aloof Red, is a great pirate who is as powerful as Roger. What to do? Unexpectedly, Lu Chen successfully captured the Red Earl so easily and rushed from New World to West Blue within a limited time. Destroy Lu Chen and eliminate Ohara's great opportunity. Completely erase all traces of Lu Chen's presence on this island. Even God is giving them a chance. The Commander-in-Chief of the CPO has cold hands and feet. If he fails to complete the tasks assigned by Celestial Dragons this time, his end will definitely be tragic. Polusali and other Marine generals were puzzled and surprised by this. Surrounded by the tallest warship off the coast of Ohara, the CPO who was in charge of this operation was trembling all over. However, Lu Chen is here in person. Who can touch Ohara again? Looking at the shackled Red Earl next to Lu Chen, Marine couldn't help but fall into silence. The strength of the Marine legendary hero, 450, is really terrifying. Lu Chen went to New World to capture the Red Earl. As for his current action, in addition to destroying Ohara under the orders of the Five Elders, the highest level of the world government, there was also a secret order from the Dragon Kai St. Roswald. Originally, he was still planning what kind of reasons he should use to drive away Lu Chen. It happened that at this time he caught up with the Red Earl's attack on the Marine branch. Apart from Lu Chen, there was no one more suitable than him to pursue the Red Earl. Lu Chen once brought disgrace to the Celestial Dragons, St. Roswald. Chapter 167. This man cannot move, please customize. Advertisement above the red line, the Holy Land, Marijoy. The headquarters building of world government is still very majestic. From a distance, the glorious aura alone can make people feel like a dream. The Five Elders, who represent the pinnacle of power, are sitting in a magnificent conference room discussing matters related to Ohara. It is not unreasonable for the world government to strictly prohibit the study of these histories. Why are there always violators who want to touch this forbidden area? The old man with short gray hair sighed. Currently, under the governance of the world government, most countries have maintained peace. But if those Ohara scholars have studied the truth of the blank 100 years. The old man with long white beard held his chin and said solemnly. The hard-won peace will be broken, and the entire world will once again face the threat of war. The old man with short blonde hair took over his words. Even if the scholars in Ohara only look at these histories from an academic perspective, but it is inevitable that some reactionary forces will focus on their research and use these historical papers and even ancient weapon to write a big article. The bald old man wearing glasses sighed and said, we will never allow such a thing to happen, even if it means destroying the entire Ohara. As these words fell, the entire conference room fell into silence again. Not long after, the silence was broken by the ringtone of a phone bug. It was the CPO's special communication device. If everything goes well, it should be time for the buster call to start. Why would the CPO call at this time? The Five Elders all frowned. At such a critical moment, nothing could go wrong again. After they looked at each other, they answered the phone. Before the Five Elders could ask about the current situation, the panicked voice of the CPO commander came from the phone bug. Sir, something bad happened. Lu Chen. Lu Chen appeared in Ohara. What? Why did Lu Chen appear in Ohara? After hearing what the CPO commander said, the expressions of the Five Elders became extremely angry. According to the information they had in real time, Lu Chen should still be in the New World at this time. He had just arrested the Red Count not long ago and was escorting him back to his headquarters. It was absolutely impossible for him to suddenly appear in West Blue. Could it be that the CPO made some mistakes during the execution of the mission, so he made up such a lie to deceive them? Advertisement. Although they are given the title of officials, in the final analysis they are just a group of agents serving the Celestial Dragons, and now they have come up with such outrageous lies to deceive the Celestial Dragons. CPO guys are getting bolder and bolder. For a moment, the atmosphere in the conference room became extremely heavy. Even the guard standing outside the door felt the low pressure and couldn't help but shudder. They silently wondered in their hearts what kind of big event would make the powerful 5 elders so angry. How could Chen appear in Ohara? The old man with gray curly hair said in a very unhappy tone, and a strong sense of oppression came from his words. We don't know what happened, but Chen did appear here. Commander CP0 was about to burst into tears. In order to prove the fact that Chen had indeed arrived at Ohara, he immediately ordered his men to take a photo and send it to the World Government Headquarters. Looking at the photos transmitted from the mouth of the phone bug, the 5 elders were all stunned. In the picture, Chen holds a long-haired woman and a little girl in his arms respectively, and the expression on his face is the gentleness they have never seen before. Moreover, at his feet was the shackled and tightly tied Red Earl. How can this be? A white-haired old man was so surprised that he shouted involuntarily. How could Chen rush from New World to Ohara in such a short period of time? The blonde old man's face was solemn, and his eyebrows were knitted together. The gray curly-haired old man's eyes were wide open, filled with disbelief. Although the old man with a long white beard and the old man with a bald head and glasses didn't make any big moves, they looked at each other, both looking at each other's eyes. There was indescribable shock on his face. Who gave Chen the information about Ohara's attack? Moreover, how did Chen travel across half the world to come to Ohara? Sir, what should we do now? Can the plan still be implemented as usual? Commander CP0 also wanted to know why Chen suddenly appeared. He asked the 5 elders for a solution without tears. However, there was silence among the phone worms. Moreover, a steady stream of phone calls from other warships were ringing loudly, stimulating his already tense brain. Advertisement. Stop fighting, he doesn't know what to do. The CPO commander was heartbroken. Bearing the wrath of the 5 elders and St. Roswald at the same time, Commander CPO had a huge psychological shadow on Chen. He secretly vowed in his heart that he would never provoke anything related to Chen again. Inside the World Government Headquarters, the 5 elders looked at each other in silence. They are all very sure that the world government's intelligence cannot be wrong. Therefore, not long ago, Chen must have been in the New World Zone. In other words, after Chen learned about the buster call launched against Ohara, he moved from New World to West Blue in an instant. He has never shown such ability before. And now, Chen has revealed to the world this ability to appear in a certain place instantly. In their view, this is an act of deterrence. This kind of ability is enough to make everyone feel afraid. The pirates can't help but be more afraid of him. Qian Li, even they, as the top leaders of the world government, have to be afraid of him. Because of this, they can no longer attack Ohara easily. It's not going to be easy this time. The old man with gray curly hair sighed and took the lead in breaking the silence. Although he had seen Chen fight with his own eyes and knew that Chen was very strong, he still did not expect that his true strength would be that strong. Ohara, you can't ignore it, but Chen must not move either. With Chen here, how to do it has become a big problem. The 5 elders looked at each other. This was the first time they had encountered such a difficult problem since they took over. Marine's development in recent years can be described as success or failure. 5 elders thought for a long time and gritted their teeth and made such a decision. The old man with long hair answered the call from the CPO commander and spoke slowly. Chapter 168. Ohara, left to Chen's disposal, please customize. Advertisement. The conversation with the 5 elders actually only lasted a few minutes. However, due to the huge psychological pressure, the commander of the CPO has been living for a long time, and the sweat on his body has soaked his shirt. After receiving the reply from the 5 elders, the former CPO of the highest command could no longer care about how shocking the content of the news was. He hung up the phone, breathed a sigh of relief, and immediately cast moonwalk and entered the interior of Ohara Island. Of course, Buster Call was also terminated long ago because of the appearance of Chen. Ohara, the approach of the Tree of Omniscience. Since the shelling only lasted a moment, this ancient library was not under any great threat. Amidst the smoke and dust, Chen stood calmly in front of everyone in the CP organization. Chen is a legendary marine hero with great prestige. He suddenly appeared here and claimed that these archaeologists had his own wife and daughter. Everyone present was still in great shock. Even if he didn't say anything now, everyone present didn't dare to move at all. With this invisible momentum alone, everyone in CP9 was completely intimidated, let alone trying to make any move under his nose. Spangdane smiled and wanted to talk to Chen, but was completely ignored by him. Just when everyone in CP9 was at a loss, the commander of CPO came to them on Moonwalk 013. Sir, Spangdane cried out in surprise. He was almost crushed to death by the gloomy atmosphere at the scene. Now someone was finally able to break the deadlock. Commander CP0 ignored Spangdane. He came directly to Chen and said respectfully, "Hello, unpunished Vice Admiral." Chen nodded as a sign of expression. "I didn't expect you to arrest the Red Earl so quickly. You are worthy of being a legendary hero of Marine. You are indeed very powerful." The CPO commander first flattered Lu Chen. Seeing that he didn't respond, he looked at Albia and Robin beside him and said with a little hesitation, "You suddenly came here for some important business." "No, I just miss my wife and daughter and plan to come back to accompany them for a while." Lu Chen held Ohara's hand tightly and said lightly, "First wonder why Marine gathered such a large force in Ohara." Quote. Although Lu Chen's tone was calm, the CPO commander still felt that he was surrounded by tremendous pressure in an instant. Advertisement. Cold sweat broke out on his forehead. After thinking for a moment, he said, "According to the world government's investigation, these archaeologists in Ohara are trying to restore the ancient weapon and thereby destroy the world. They are the devils of the world. In order to prevent the world order from being violated, the world government decided to destroy these demons to ensure peace." Really, I didn't know that Ohara's scholars were so ambitious. Lu Chen pretended not to know and showed surprise. Little Robin, who was being held by Lu Chen, said angrily, "Dr. Clover and the others didn't think so. Their purpose of discovering history is to protect history, and they don't want to make it public, nor do they want to destroy the world of peace." After hearing what Little Robin said, not only the members of the CP organization present were shocked, but even Lu Chen was slightly taken aback. Unexpectedly, at such a young age, Robin was not afraid of such a scene, and even dared to stand up to protect others. As expected of his daughter. Regarding Little Robin's words, Lu Chen was noncommittal. He and Albia looked at each other, smiled and touched Little Robin's head. However, these Ohara scholars have always violated the law, and the people of the world really need a reasonable explanation. Punishment is inevitable, so, considering that the Vice Admiral of Heaven's punishment is also here, the world government has decided after discussion that this time regarding Ohara's actions, everything will be handled by you. The CPO commander wiped the cold sweat from his head and finally spoke out the five elders' final decision. Such a big matter was handed over to Vice Admiral, the god of punishment, to handle it with full authority. This is a right that not even Marine Admiral has, chbh. As soon as this word came out, everyone was shocked. Especially Spangdeen, his eyes were wide open and his jaw almost dropped to the ground in shock. Knowing the relationship between Ohara and Mr. Lu Chen, he actually wants him to decide Ohara's life or death. Albia's eyes widened in disbelief. She looked at Lu Chen subconsciously, and saw that there was no trace of ripples on his handsome face. World government is really a good move. On the warship, Corsalino and other marine generals looked at the calm sea level and remained silent. Advertisement. Since the arrival of the Vice Admiral, the Supreme Commander has issued an order. All operations have been suspended and all operations have been suspended and on standby. Now, although they have noticed that the atmosphere on Ohara Island is a bit strange, they don't know what happened. But they also had some vague speculations in their minds that this Ohara incident might not be related to Lu Chen. Only Kuzan was lying on the sun lounger, feeling clear in his heart. Now that the Vice Admiral has arrived, this military operation may come to an end. While the Marine generals were speculating in their minds, the CPO commander returned to the command ship on the moonwalk. All warships obey orders. From now on, the overall command of this operation will be transferred to Vice Admiral. Whether to launch an attack or not will be decided by the Vice Admiral. The command was handed over to Vice Admiral. Hearing this, the Marine generals were still shocked despite their suspicions. Ever since, all the focus of the scene fell on Lu Chen. Upon hearing the news, Kuzan sighed silently. Family and responsibilities. Heavenly punishment. Vice Admiral, I'm afraid he's going to be in big trouble this time. The CPO had also woken up at this time, and the Ohara incident was also a very difficult issue for Lu Chen. Five elders, it's so terrible. They left this mess to Lu Kong himself to handle. If he gives up the attack on Ohara, it will be a violation of marine law. Even if he is a legendary hero of marine, the world government will definitely hold him accountable. But if he still maintains his attack on Ohara, it is almost impossible for his wife and daughter, as people close to archaeologists, to escape this disaster. Even if Lu Chen uses his power to keep them alive, they will definitely resent him in their hearts. No matter which choice Lu Chen makes, the consequences must be what Roswald Sanctuary wants to see. Thinking of this, he laughed sinisterly. Lu Chen, what will you do next for this two-choice question? Chapter 169. From now on, isolated from the world. Please customize. Advertisement. After listening to the news conveyed by the CPO, everyone fell into silence. Albia's mood was particularly complicated. She neither wanted these archaeologists to be harmed, nor did she want to embarrass her husband. But she also knows that you cannot have both, and you must choose between them. Dr. Clover was also very shocked after learning about the relationship between Lu Chen and Albia. He had always known that Albia had been saved by a now famous Marine when she was a child, and she had always wanted to repay that Marine. But what he didn't expect was that Albia actually met that Marine again and became his wife. Seeing the tense atmosphere, Dr. Clover stood up, glanced at the gloomy Albia, and said seriously, Mr. Vice Admiral, we have indeed been studying the taboo for 100 years. We have violated the law, and we pled guilty. Quote. But, your wife and daughter are innocent. They are just innocent residents who admire us archaeologists, and we don't want to implicate them. Dr. Clover stared at Lu Chen, hoping that he would understand the meaning of his words. As Lu Chen's wife and daughter, Albia and Robin believe that the world government will not embarrass them too much. At this time, he drew a line between Ohara scholars and them. All members of the CP organization present heard his words and were able to serve as witnesses to protect the safety of their mother and daughter. The other scholars understood what Dr. Clover meant the moment they heard him speak, so they all spoke up one after another. Yes, Mr. Vice Admiral, we lawbreakers must be killed or cut into pieces as we please. It doesn't matter if we die, please don't involve other innocent residents on the island. Come on, Mr. Vice Admiral. Study these histories, we have already put life and death at risk. Mr. Vice Admiral, please give the order. Countless archaeologists made excited voices one after another. They believed that as long as Albia and Robin could evacuate safely, the fire of archaeology could be passed on. For the sake of academics and exploration, they will not hesitate to die. Quote. Robin pulled Lu Chen's hand, his big watery eyes full of worry. She was still young and didn't understand why these archaeologists were treated like this just because they wanted to explore the truth about the world. Advertisement. She just thought that Dr. Clover was very good to her, just like an uncle, and she didn't want to lose this relative. Albia also silently held Lu Chen's hand. Although she didn't say anything, her actions showed that as long as it was Lu Chen's decision, she would accept it no matter how cruel it was. Looking at the silent Lu Chen, Dr. Clover signaled the other scholars to quiet down and made a request to him. I hope the world government can recycle the documents in the Tree of Omniscient. These are precious materials from all over the world. Even if they are blocked, it is much better than destroying them. Say it, he sighed, this is the last contribution he can make to archaeologists. At this moment, Lu Chen snorted coldly, as archaeologists, why are you still so restless like those marine boys? Everyone looked at Lu Chen and saw that his expression was still so indifferent, as if this matter had nothing to do with him. Since you have broken the law, you should be punished. I declare that Ohara will be completely closed from today on, with no entry or exit. As soon as he finished speaking, Lu Chen started to use wood style. On the edge of the island, a wooden city wall stood up in an instant. The wall was hundreds of meters high and extremely hard, directly covering the entire island. Seen from a high altitude, it looks like a hand is dragging the island of Ohara. This picture shocked everyone. The Ohara scholars, led by Dr. Clover, were shocked to see this incredible scene in front of them. They believed that they would not be able to escape the fate of death, but they did not expect that Lu Chen had such a solution. The members of CP9 were all stunned by the powerful ability displayed by Lu Chen. They looked at each other and did not dare to express their anger. Looking at the city wall that instantly enveloped Ohara, the warships in the sea were silent for a while. The CPO commander's face instantly darkened. He did not expect that Lu Chen actually had such a solution. The huge wooden city wall has only one exit, and it is impossible for ordinary people to climb over it. By blocking the entire Ohara from contact with the outside world, their research cannot be communicated to the outside world. Even if Ohara has the intention to destroy the world, Marine stationed here can get the news as soon as possible. In this way, world government has nothing to say. Advertisement. Lu Chen was really underestimated by all of them. Not long after, Lu Chen walked out from the only exit. He raised his hand to say hello in the direction of Saul. After his ship approached, he issued an order for him to stay here and not let anyone go out. Yes, Vice Admiral. After Saul took the order, Lu Chen turned into lightning and instantly arrived in front of the CPO commander. Looking at the CP0 commander who was so frightened that he was sweating coldly, Lu Chen said with a smile, "Is the world government satisfied with this result?" How dare the CPO commander say no? He hurriedly nodded in response to Lu Chen. After getting a satisfactory answer, Lu Chen returned to Ohara again. At this time, the members of CP9 had already left, and the archaeologists were safely released. Albia and Robin were repairing their wounds. Albia, Robin, let's go. After all the archaeologists' wounds were bandaged, Lu Chen spoke. Are you leaving now? After all, this is the place where we have lived for so many years. If we have to leave suddenly, anyone will feel reluctant to leave. Looking at his wife and daughter who looked disappointed, Lu Chen smiled at them and said, say goodbye to them properly, I will take time to bring you back in the future. Drive Clover, you should take good care of your health and don't stay up all night every day. Robin stepped forward and hugged Dr. Clover tightly, and said reluctantly. After they finished the farewell ceremony, Lu Chen took them home and simply packed their luggage before leaving Ohara Island. Although there was a lot of reluctance in their hearts, Albia and Robin couldn't help but get excited at the thought of living with Lu Chen in the future. Looking at their smiling faces, Lu Chen's expression couldn't help but soften. They took the warship of the general of their headquarters, liberated the Red Earl, and started their return voyage in a mighty manner. Behind the scenes, the island carrying knowledge is completely isolated from the world. The huge wooden city wall, seen from a distance, looks like a huge palm, holding the entire island in its palm. The residents of the island can no longer escape from its 5 fingers. Loss. Chapter 170. Agreed, appointed by Marine Admiral, please customize. Advertisement. Taking Albia and Robin, Lu Chen escorted the Red Earl and embarked on the journey to naval headquarters. This is the second time little Robin has gone to sea. Along the way, she was extremely excited and wanted to report everything she saw to Albia and Lu Chen. Mom and Dad, this way. Mom and Dad, come and see this. Lu Chen hugged Albia and looked helplessly at little Robin running around, and said, when I get back to naval headquarters, I have to let my brother take Robin out to play 10 times. Huh, wouldn't that be too much trouble for brother? Thinking of Marine's responsibilities, Albia was stunned, and quickly waved her hand. Lu Chen, I, the mother, can take Robin out. Have you forgotten how much I like little Robin? I think after knowing that little Robin is going to live in the headquarters, he will want to be with her every day. Recalling Garp's slightly silly smile, Lu Chen couldn't help but laugh. Besides, 870, we haven't had a world of two for a long time. After hearing what Lu Chen said, Albia's face turned red and she lowered her head shyly. Mr. Lu Chen. However, she is also looking forward to spending wonderful time with Lu Chen in her heart. After all, this is the man she loves her whole life. Accompanied by laughter and laughter along the way. Half a month later, Naval Headquarters, Marineford. As soon as the warship docked at the port, it was surrounded by countless people who came after hearing the news. Marshal Kong and Garp Admiral and other high-level officials are here. Among them, Garp looked at the returning warships in the distance, with an unconcealable smile on his old face. In his eyes, there was only the little girl in her mother's arms, looking around curiously with her big eyes. My niece has grown up again. Came back. Standing next to Marshal Kong and other Marine executives was a man in a black suit. This is the Holy Land Envoy. Everyone in Marine is already not used to this. According to past experience, Holy Land Envoy, this trip was in vain. So, naturally no one cares. Not long after, amidst the cheers of the crowd, Lu Chen escorted the Red Earl and led Robin and Albia off the boat. Advertisement. As soon as the Red Earl was handed over to Marshal Kong, the Holy Land Envoy immediately came out. Vice Admiral of Heavenly Punishment, after many considerations, the world government hopes that you can take up the position of Marine Admiral for the 10th time. Something to be expected. Under the unsurprising looks of everyone, Lu Chen smiled slightly and was about to refuse the appointment directly. The special envoy of the Holy Land, no longer able to keep his ears to the ground, took out a document from his pocket and handed it over respectfully. Master Lu Chen, please take a look before you decide. As soon as this statement came out, everyone on the dock couldn't help but turn their heads and look over. Oh, even Lu Chen looked surprised. But he didn't think much about it. After taking the file, he opened it directly. Then, Vice Admiral frowned and fell into silence. Really or not, is there any turning point? Aokiji was right behind Lu Chen. He suddenly looked up and his eyes widened. In his opinion, Lu Chen seems to be stuck in thinking now. Thoughts on the Marine Admiral appointment decision? Don't tell me Aokiji was shocked. Anyone who has known Lu Chen who refused to be promoted to Admiral dozens of times will know that when Lu Chen starts to think silently, it is enough to make people feel unbelievable. Especially Kong. He wanted Lu Chen to serve as Marine Admiral many times, but was rejected by the latter every time. For this reason, he felt helpless and distressed. So when he saw, Lu Chen fell into deep thought. Kong couldn't help but look forward to it in his heart. This moment, the atmosphere on the dock was eerie. The legendary hero who refused dozens of promotions to be promoted to Marine Admiral is now silent when faced with the appointment of being promoted to Admiral. This in itself makes people feel magical and weird. Seeing such a scene, Kong felt a sense of excitement in his heart. Previously, Lu Chen had rejected Admiral's appointment without hesitation, but his current hesitation proved that he was shaken in his heart. He had a hunch that this time, there would be a chance. As Lu Chen's brother, Garp also noticed something was wrong with the latter this time. Is this guy going to make changes? Behind the scenes, Kuzan and others, who had witnessed the powerful power displayed by Lu Chen in the Ohara incident, also held their breath. Advertisement. They all looked forward to Lu Chen taking over the Admiral appointment, but recalling his previous indifference to this position, they couldn't help but feel a little bit of, I knew it was this, feeling in their hearts. Heavenly Punishment Vice Admiral, what decision will it make this time? Everyone is waiting for Lu Chen's decision. After a long pause, which seemed like a century had passed in everyone's minds, Lu Chen spoke. He still had a calm expression on his face. I accept the appointment of Marine Admiral. Lu Chen accepted this appointment from world government. As soon as he finished speaking, the entire naval headquarters was shocked. Even Kong was in disbelief. He didn't react for a while. After a while, he muttered, this kid actually agreed. You know, Lu Chen has rejected the appointment of Marine Admiral again and again, and he has complained to Garp many times because of this. Although he knew that the conditions offered by the world government this time included conditions that could make Lu Chen sway, he did not expect that these conditions would actually be enough for Lu to agree to the appointment of Marine Admiral. Although he was very shocked, Kong felt great joy in his heart. The things that were on his mind could finally be let go. Hee, you are indeed a man from the monkey family. Poor Salino puffed out his mouth in an exaggerated way, a sign of shock. Kuzan was stunned and said to himself, really or not? Mr. Lu Chen actually agreed. Once the news of Lu Chen serving as Marine Admiral comes out, the entire sea area will usher in earth-shaking changes. Garp grinned, walked towards Lu Chen excitedly, and patted him on the shoulder. This younger brother of mine is so powerful and prestigious that he has already reached the level of Admiral. Although they all expected Lu Chen to become an admiral in their 3.9 hearts, they really didn't expect that Lu Chen would actually agree to it and behave so calmly, as if he was talking about what to eat tonight. This is also well deserved. This is her husband, the powerful legendary marine hero. Compared with these acquaintances, other marine generals have no extra emotions. In addition to being shocked, they are still shocked. Robin swore secretly in his heart. Although she didn't know what happened specifically, the position of Marine Admiral sounded like a very powerful and respected person. Not only is he proud of himself, he is also the pride of the world. Although he was shocked at first, he was more excited and excited inside. For a moment, everyone on the dock had different expressions, but their eyes revealed an indelible shock. Unexpectedly, this man who had rejected dozens of world government promotions would dramatically agree to the appointment of Marine Admiral at this moment. Albia held Robin's hand tightly and looked at Lu Chen with eyes full of pride and pride. I must become as powerful a person as my father. Robin looked at Lu Chen who was looking through the documents, then at the silent Marine crowd, and finally at Albia who looked excited. Chapter 171. New World Nightmare, Heavenly Punishment Admiral, please customize. Advertisement. The Holy Land Envoy was the first to react. He bowed respectfully to Lu Chen and immediately went back to report to the 5 elders. The other Marine generals also reacted one after another. Kong laughed and praised Lu Chen, saying something like, you finally got the idea, and then went to deal with the matter of the Red Earl. Garp also heartily congratulated his brother, but his attention was soon drawn to Robin. Little Robin, do you miss your uncle? Seeing the big one and the small one playing together again, Lu Chen hugged Albia and smiled softly. Jun Lu Chen, after becoming admiral, will you go to guard the Holy Land? Albia suddenly remembered the responsibilities of Marine Admiral. She looked at Lu Chen worriedly, with water in her eyes. And Lu Chen smiled at her. No answer. Instead, he told his wife and daughter that they would be leaving here soon. Marine, add an admiral. With the deliberate spread of the world government, major newspapers soon learned of the news that Lu Chen became Marine Admiral. This is the first news that can shock the world after the birth of the Pirate King's bloodline. The newspaper leaders held another emergency meeting on the 27th, and all newspaper staff worked overtime to write news reports one after another. The news that Lu Chen became a Marine Admiral soon spread all over the world, causing a huge shock storm. Countless pirates marveled, and countless people were extremely excited. Roger's words before his death attracted countless people to embark on the path of pirates. However, everyone knows that the man known as the Pirate King was arrested by Lu Chen himself. And this man has now officially become Marine's Admiral. Those pirates who had just set out to sea and had not yet formed their own forces were shocked after seeing the news. Buggy was stunned for a moment. He opened his mouth wide at first, and then swallowed 2 or 3 mouthfuls of saliva, as if his throat was dry. This is real. After breaking up with Shanks, he has been preparing for various matters to go to sea, but the process has not been smooth. It has only been half a month since he started, and he has not even found a partner. At this moment, the shocking news that Lu Chen became a Marine Admiral came out, which made him think about retreating for a moment. Advertisement. That man who even the captain couldn't defeat, if he were to touch me, wouldn't he be crushed to death like an ant? Thinking of Lu Chen's terrifying strength, Buggy couldn't help but shudder, his eyes showing deep fear. It seems that we should pay more attention to the news about the current Marine Admiral in the future. Honey, look, in Kokoja village, a villager ran into his house happily with a newspaper. What's wrong? The man frowned at first. He didn't like to be disturbed while reading, but after seeing what was in the newspaper, an uncontrollable joy couldn't help but burst out from his heart. Legendary hero of Marine, served as Admiral. Lu Chen, the legendary figure who once arrested many big pirates making trouble at sea, has finally become the true leader of Marine. Under his leadership, Marine will surely become more prosperous and eliminate all those nasty pirates. They, the people, can finally no longer fear the evil forces and can live in this land with more peace of mind. Sea of all nations, Cake Island. When Charlotte Linlin saw the news, she couldn't help but punch the building next to her. With a roar, the house collapsed and dust flew into the sky. In these days, the major news that happened to Lu Chen can be said to be more unbelievable than the last. She already resented Lu Chen for turning his most perfect masterpiece, Katakuri, into Marine, and wanted to find an opportunity to deal with him. But as Kaido, Roger and others were defeated one by one, the unwillingness and anger in her heart gradually turned into helplessness. That was a terrifying man who couldn't even defeat these 2 people, let alone the Marine Admiral who now succeeded him. It seems that my plan needs to be carried out in advance. The first half of the Grand Line. In Zailuobu village, Shanks has just found a partner who is known as a perfect Shinso player and is about to leave. Suddenly, a news bird stopped on their boat and brought them a newspaper. Shanks picked up the newspaper and looked at it. There were a few big words written on it. Lu Chen, serving as Marine Admiral. Shanks' eyes widened and he stared at the newspaper in his hand in disbelief. Real or false? Advertisement. The crew members were all shocked. What kind of big event could cause their calm captain to lose his composure? After a while, Shanks put down the newspaper and sighed softly. Unexpectedly, the pressure from the world government was so great that even Lu Chen had to protect the celestial dragons. New World. A huge beluga pirate ship was traveling at high speed, but the atmosphere on the ship was a bit dull at this time. All the squad captains did not dare to say a word, and their eyes secretly glanced at the tall man who was sitting on the throne, exuding a terrifying pressure. Edward Newgate browsed the words in the newspaper, his face full of disbelief. Becoming an admiral means losing basic freedoms and having to be on duty to guard the Holy Land. Unexpectedly, this man also surrendered to the world government. Moreover, after the journey becomes Marine Admiral, life for pirates like them will inevitably become even more difficult. Quote. Thinking of this, by 580 Beard unconsciously read Lu Chen's name, and the expressions of all the captains below him changed drastically. It's this man again. But Momonosuke sat aside, silent, but his heart became even more thirsty for powerful power. Long, that uncle of yours really serves as admiral. In the newly established headquarters of the Revolutionary Army, Crow took a newspaper and found Long, who was deploying a combat plan. Impossible, my uncle will not give up his freedom to protect those hateful celestial dragons. Long naturally didn't believe it. He felt that his uncle must have a deeper purpose. If he is unwilling, even the world government cannot force him to do this. Okay, call Ivankov and the others over, we are going to make the next step of preparations. Waving his hand at Crow, Long drew their attention back to the Revolutionary Army's upcoming plan. Just when the world was shocked and amazed by Lu Chen's appointment as Marine Admiral, another news came out in naval headquarters. The new legendary Marine Admiral is about to go to Wano Kuni to guard. As soon as this news came out, countless pirates complained incessantly. This is equivalent to putting Lu Chen in the chaotic sea area of New World, shocking many pirates. Chapter 172. Emperor Wano Kuni, please customize. Advertisement. After receiving the order from Marine Admiral, Lu Chen first went to hand over the work, and then selected hundreds of elite soldiers who would follow him to Wano Kuni. These soldiers are all loyal Marines with strength, courage and perseverance. To be selected by Lu Chen and work with this legendary Marine, each of them is looking forward to their future. After selecting the soldiers, Lu Chen went to the Marine Scientific Research Department where Momosuke worked. The 5 little girls had just finished their daily training and were all excited to see Lu Chen. Brother Lu Chen, I heard that you became a Marine Admiral, you are so awesome. Boa Hancock looked at Lu Chen with sparkling eyes, and several other little girls also came up to look at Nan Lu Chen with eyes full of admiration. Only Yamato interrupted them gloomily. Brother Lu Chen has become Admiral and will leave naval headquarters. We will never see him again. Really? Why? Hiyori was shocked, and the other little girls also expressed doubts. Haven't you heard? Brother Lu Chen is going to guard Wano Kuni. Yamato is a smart guy, so he had inquired about the news early, and he has been feeling sad about this incident for the past few days. Looking at the little girls pouting, Lu Chen burst into laughter. He touched their heads helplessly and said, I do want to go to Wano Kuni, so do you want to go with me? May I? Yamato was the first to react. She took Lu Chen's hand, her big eyes full of desire. Of course, Lu Chen said with a smile, so, go and get ready, we will set off in a few days. Great. The little girls were all very excited. After pulling Lu Chen to report on their recent training, they ran to pack their luggage. Momosuke looked at the little girls running away laughing, shook his head helplessly and sighed. They have been with me for so long, and they have never behaved like this when they saw you. Actually, I want you to go to Wano Kuni with them. Lu Chen looked at Momosuke, who was still busy, and said, you take good care of them, and they like you very much. The most important thing is that you handle the affairs well. You are very capable, and the construction of Wano Kuni is currently in great need of talents like you. Being ordered around by you guys every day, I will definitely age prematurely. Advertisement. Momosuke complained helplessly, but she did not refuse Lu Chen's proposal. A few days later, a huge warship full of science fiction stopped at the port of naval headquarters. In addition to Lu Chen's family, there were also Momosuke, Hancock and Yamato who boarded the ship, as well as Rouge and the infant Ace who needed to be taken care of by Lu Chen, as well as hundreds of people handpicked by Lu Chen elite soldiers. Little Robin, my uncle really hates to leave you. On the dock, Garp held Robin in his arms, his eyes full of reluctance. In the past few days, Garp has taken Robin to travel around Marineford, and the relationship between the two has become deeper. When it was time to say goodbye, a feeling of reluctance arose spontaneously. Okay, brother, will I bring Robin back to see you? Lu Chen laughed and asked Albia to take little Robin on board. You guy, it's not enough just to take little Robin away, you even took Ace away. Looking at Robin's leaving figure, Garp patted Lu Chen's shoulder melancholy. Hey. If it weren't for the fact that naval headquarters is inseparable from people, I would really like to go to Wano Kuni with you. Quote. After all, Garp is Robin's uncle and Ace's nominal grandfather. Even if Garp is reluctant to leave, he can't say anything more. After saying goodbye to Garp, Kong and others, Lu Chen boarded the warship and ordered to head towards Wano Kuni. Lu Chen stood at the bow of the ship, looking at Marineford, who was gradually moving away, with the smile still on his face and a slight sigh. When he first came back from Ohara, he originally wanted to win the World Government Admiral appointment. He believes that the world government knows about his relationship with Ohara, and the trip must be done by someone with bad intentions. The 5 elders may even use this as a condition to test his loyalty to the world government. Since the Valley of the Gods incident, the celestial dragons have been worried about another such attack, so an admiral must guard the Holy Land at all times to protect their safety. But what he didn't expect was that the condition given by the Holy Land was that he would not be on duty to guard the Holy Land and would instead guard Wano Kuni. So, there was a scene where he agreed to serve as admiral. Sailing the sea is boring. More than half a month later, the battleship finally arrived at Wano Kuni. Advertisement. During this period, Robin had become completely familiar with the 5 little girls. In addition to daily training, they would get together to discuss some weird things. Lu Chen was still happy to see such a scene. As soon as he arrived at the pier in Wano-kuni, Chen saw the famous celebrities coming to greet him, including Sakazuki, Katakuri, and Crocodile. Teacher. Seeing Chen, Katakuri and Crocodile bowed respectfully. Everyone else also expressed their congratulations to Chen for assuming the post of admiral. The famous people even sent congratulatory gifts. But Chen didn't pay much attention to them. After everyone leaves. Listening to Kasazuki's report, Chen nodded with satisfaction. After handing over everything, he asked Sakazuki to go back to naval headquarters to report. Before Sakazuki left, Chen stopped him. Your performance has been very good. I think the world government will soon issue an order for promotion. Really? Sakazuki was very surprised and moved at the same time. Deep in my heart, there were waves of consternation. He is already the Marine Vice Admiral. If he is promoted again, there will only be one Marine Admiral. That's why Sakazuki was so surprised. Until I left, the whole person was still in a state of chaos. After sending Sakazuki away, Chen settled down with his wife, daughter and children like Hancock, and then went straight to work. He called 2 students. Apart from Sakazuki, they were the people who knew the most about what happened in Wano-kuni recently. From Crocodile's mouth, we learned that everything in Wano-kuni was normal except for one person who often came to harass them. Are there any pirates who dare to cause trouble in Wano-kuni now? In this regard, Chen was still a little surprised. With the powerful Sakazuki and his 2 students guarding the area, there were actually pirates who dared to cause trouble. Teacher, you also know this person. Crocodile glanced at Katakuri and said slowly, he is the big signboard of Beast's Pirates, the first of the 3 major disasters, Jin. Chapter 173. Ka-er's stepfather, Jin and Andy have a child. Please customize. Advertisement. Ember. Chen carefully recalled this somewhat familiar name, and finally found him in a corner of his memory. He was one of his father's men who luckily escaped from him during the Battle of Wano-kuni. How dare he come back to Wano-kuni? Chen raised his eyebrows slightly, with curiosity hidden in his eyes. At the same time, he also noticed that Katakuri looked ugly when talking about Jin. Chen asked the reason, but Katakuri's face suddenly turned green. Hearing Chen's words, Crocodile tried his best to hold back his laughter. He signaled Katakuri with his eyes. Seeing that he was not threatened, he slowly explained the reason. During the original Battle of Wano-kuni, Jin luckily escaped from your hands and went to Wangguo to seek refuge with Charlotte Linlin. As the strongest person in the Beast's Pirates after Kaido, Jin's strength is also very strong. Crocodile said, with a slight smile on his lips and an uncontrollable smile in his eyes. As we all know, Charlotte Linlin likes to fight with strong people. He left behind an heir. Perhaps because of this, Charlotte Linlin fell in love with him, and according to rumors, they even gave birth to a child. Not even Chen expected such a dramatic scene to happen. He was slightly shocked at first, and finally dumbfounded. After calming down, Chen asked 670, since Jin has defected to Charlotte Linlin, why did he come back to Wano-kuni? The distance between Wano-kuni and Wangguo is not very close, so what does Jin want to do? It stands to reason that teacher, you have shown such amazing strength and arrested Kaido, which will definitely leave a huge psychological shadow on Jin, and he will not dare to come to your territory easily again. But, Crocodile said slowly, and then Katakuri took over the topic. Jin followed the order of my mother, Charlotte Linlin, to make me betray Marine and return to her BIGMOM pirates. Chen looked at Katakuri and said calmly, what do you think? However, this question was answered first by Crocodile. Katakuri rejected Jin very righteously and swore that he would be loyal to the Marines for the rest of his life. However, Jin was met with disappointment. Advertisement. As he said that, he couldn't help laughing again. In the end, Katakuri couldn't bear it anymore, and he beat Jin severely. Jin suppressed his anger but didn't dare to show up, and finally ran away in despair. The scene was so CHBD funny. Teacher, you are the beacon in my life. You taught me what justice is and enabled me to protect the people and things I want to protect. Katakuri looked at Chen and said firmly, I am now the only goal is to become a great Marine like you, teacher. Very good. After listening to Katakuri's oath, Chen showed a satisfied smile. The two looked at each other and smiled, and their hearts that had been holding them were relieved. Then, Chen asked the two to make a detailed report on Wano-kuni's recent affairs. After Chen liberated Wano-kuni, they discovered that there were many problems in this feudal country that had long been ruled by pirates. But during this period of time, thanks to Marine's rectification, many problems were solved. However, there is still a huge problem. The education received by Wano-kuni's children is relatively closed, which is relatively backward in the entire world. Hearing this, Chen suddenly realized that this was what he had guessed. So, Chen talked about the ideas he had been building these days. I want to build a marine academy in Wano-kuni. He wants to let Wano-kuni's children receive an education in the military academy as early as possible. In this way, this country that was once thought to be backward will be able to receive a successful baptism of education, the people's worldview and values will be corrected, and the shadow caused by pirates will gradually disappear. Children who grow up in this country can also understand what justice is and grow into righteous teachers who can protect the country and the world in the future. Marine Academy. Why didn't they think of that? After listening to Chen's ideas, Katakuri and Crocodile both expressed great agreement. As expected of a teacher, he always has a sharp perspective on these matters. Crocodile couldn't help but sigh. Katakuri seemed to be thinking of his past, his eyes flickered. I believe that under the guidance of the teacher, they will move forward straight on the path of justice. Advertisement. They have always been troubled by this problem, and now they have a solution, which is really great. Moreover, this was proposed by their teacher. All my plans are here. Lu Chen took out a thick stack of documents and handed them to the two of them. You first learn about the situation in detail, and then go and notify the big names. Yes, master. Katakuri and Crocodile accepted the order and read the document carefully. Both of them couldn't help but admire the wonderful ideas displayed between the lines in the document. Sure enough, the teacher's idea is amazing. After carefully reading the documents, Katakuri and Crocodile expressed their ideas to Lu Chen. After getting the latter's consent, they went to notify the major names. After the two left, Lu Chen called a soldier stationed at the door of the office and ordered him, go and bring up the people downstairs. We have just arrived in Wano Kuni, and there are still many things that have not been dealt with. Who is worthy of meeting Lu Chen Admiral? Although the soldiers were a little confused about this, they still followed the order. He walked quickly and soon came to the entrance of the former general's mansion, which is now the Marine Branch building. Before anyone arrived, he saw several figures standing straight at the door from a distance. Among them, the tallest man was an old man with white hair wearing a straight black suit. Behind the old man, there were several children of different heights standing. Among them, a boy wearing a black hat and a white dove with a tie standing on his shoulders is the most eye-catching. Although they didn't know who they were, the soldiers could see their extraordinary demeanor at a glance. Even those children have a temperament that is difficult for ordinary people to match. Hello, are you a guest of Lu Chen Admiral? He didn't dare to neglect and stepped forward to ask a few questions. The leader of the old man nodded slightly to show his affirmation. After getting a positive answer, they quickly led these people to where Lu Chen was. Chapter 174. To cover the sky with one hand in Wano Kuni, please customize. Advertisement. Following the straight passage, several people quickly arrived at the door of Lu Chen's office. The soldier knocked on the door and said respectfully, Lu Chen Admiral, your guest has arrived. Come in. After hearing Lu Chen's response from inside the house, the soldier opened the door of the office. After several people entered the house, he walked out consciously and gently closed the door. Seeing the white-haired old man at the head, Lu Chen smiled slightly and said, You are here, Calico. This white-haired old man was the CPO who survived the Valley of the Gods incident. He could be regarded as the originator of spies and left. Because after the Valley of Gods was exposed, spies who know all the secrets there naturally have no need to survive. Therefore, this man who is considered the leader of CPO is actually already dead in the eyes of world government and naval headquarters. Calico bowed respectfully to Lu Chen and said, Thank you for your life-saving grace, so that I can still survive with this broken body. Lu Chen smiled and did not continue talking. Instead, he turned his attention to the awkward children behind him. Standing on the shoulders of the children standing at the front is a white dove wearing a tie. On his left side is a child with a square face and a long rectangular nose. On his right side is a child with a fierce expression and a terrible scar on one eye. Standing at the end is a tall child with long pink hair who looks like a lion. It seems that they are Rob Lucci, Bluno, Jabra and Kumadori in their youth. Although they were mentally prepared, the future CP9 members couldn't help but become nervous after feeling Lu Chen's gaze. Seeing their restraint, Lu Chen smiled lightly at them and focused his attention on Karikou in front of him. Because Kiriko has been undercover for a long time, his intelligence collection ability has also been greatly tempered, and it can be regarded as the top level in the world. At that time, Wano Kuni had a lot of waste waiting to be done. And due to the particularity of being occupied by pirates, the establishment of an intelligence network is also essential. Lu Chen looked at Karikou and asked, How is the layout of the intelligence network going? Hearing Lu Chen's inquiry, Calico woke up from his memories. He took out a piece of information from his arms and handed it to Lu Chen. The progress is going smoothly so far. The informant below has infiltrated hundreds of people. 80 points of the area. There are still a few hard-to-gnaw bones left, and I believe they can be broken in the next few weeks. Advertisement. Watching Lu Chen read the information carefully, Karikou paused and continued. Since Wano Kuni is now directly guarded by you, I will inform you that the center of the network will be converted to your branch building in the future. All the latest information is received directly by you. Thank you, Karikou, you did a great job. Lu Chen nodded. He was very relieved about Karikou's speed and ability. Judging from the data, the intelligence network established by Karikou was very detailed, and he had planned some things into it that he had not even noticed. But, Lu Chen looked at Calico, took out a piece of information collected by Katakuri and the others from the drawer, and handed it to him. This is. Calico had just read 2 pages, and his brows were furrowed. The Holy Land actually sent spies here. In the current Karikou's heart, Lu Chen's weight is significantly higher than those of the celestial dragons, so he is deeply resentful of the Holy Land's distrust of Lu Chen. Those guys want to get involved in everything. Lu Chen sighed and said, Karikou, I want you to use this intelligence network to find out the spies planted in Wano Kuni by the Holy Land. What do you mean? Calicou's mind moved, and as shrewd as he was, he already had some vague guesses in his mind. Lu Chen stared at Karikou, his eyes full of confidence in him. Yes, I want to deliberately control the intelligence information obtained by those spies so that the Holy Land can no longer interfere with Wano Kuni's affairs. Calico saluted Lu Chen with a standard military salute and said firmly, There is no problem at all. I promise to complete the mission. Very good. Lu Chen nodded to show his approval. Because he had the identity of a spy, Kariku and others did not stay too long. After discussing with Lu Chen for a while how to control the spies, he took the children and left here. 0. Before leaving, Lu Chen suddenly stopped him. There are a few devil fruits that will adapt well to the characteristics of these children in the future. You can get information about them. ... Please give me flowers. This is advertisement. After just one glance, Kariku was extremely shocked at first, and then his admiration for him deepened a lot. If you have any news about finding these fruits, if you can't get them, please notify me. Lu Chen smiled lightly. The tone is like reporting something trivial. Seeing their excited expressions, Kariko shook his head helplessly and warned, as a spy, don't reveal your true identity at will. I, Rob Lucci, must become as powerful as Lu Chen Admiral. 0. But when it fell on the ears of Calicu, Lucci and others, they could deeply feel the domineering and self-confidence in it. But I can understand it if I think about it. With this thought in his mind, Calicu led these children out of Lu Chen's office. With Lord Lu Chen taking action, it would be easy for him to get the ancient weapon, let alone a few devil fruits. After hearing this, several people hurriedly shut their mouths, but from their twinkling eyes, it was still possible to see their joy for this meeting. The huge bloody dragon head and the heart-shaking thunderstorm are forever engraved in the depths of Kariku's memory. I'm here, is worth 100,000 elite troops. His eyes were full of memories, as if he had returned to that battle in the Valley of the Gods. Lu Chen's invincible defeat of rocks seemed like it happened yesterday. Sir, is that the legend of this sea, the legendary hero of Marine? Before leaving the flower capital, Calicu couldn't help but look in the direction of Lu Chen again. It wasn't until they left the Marine branch building that everyone relaxed a little, and the invisible pressure completely disappeared psychologically. Facing their curious and surprised looks, Kariku nodded slowly and heavily. Only then did the children like Lu Qi speak in surprise. Lu Qi took the lead in shouting this sentence. Seeing this, the other children followed him and shouted the same words in turn. After getting the answer, the children's eyes brightened up one by one, and they cheered happily that they had actually met the legendary big shot. Chapter 175. The future of the Fishman Island is marine. Please customize. Advertisement. After sending away Kariku and others, Lu Chen focused on the establishment of Marine Academy. During this period, Lu Chen often summoned Katakuri and Crocodile to discuss, and they put together a construction plan. After a period of preparation, an antique building full of Wanokuni atmosphere was located next to the Marine branch. Wanokuni's Marine Academy is finally completed. As soon as it was completed, Lu Chen sent Katakuri and Crocodile to convey the news to various places. Immediately afterwards, the opening ceremony was held. At the ceremony, the college received a strong welcome from the residents of Wanokuni. Residents began to register their children one after another, hoping that these children could become marine soldiers. Seeing such a scene, Lu Chen was slightly surprised. He also thought that the residents would welcome this marine school, but he did not expect it to reach this level. However, this also proves from the side that his management of Wanokuni is still good. Lu Chen silently gave himself a thumbs up in his heart. After receiving the news, the famous families of Wanokuni and samurai such as Hana no Hyugoro came to celebrate. Tianyu, Shimotsuki, Yugyu and other high-level family members came one after another. After a while, 703 was full of people standing in front of Lu Chen. After the celebration, Lu Chen left them behind. Although the senior family officials and warriors didn't know what happened, they were still happy to have the opportunity to contact Lu Chen, so they stayed where they were and waited. Lu Chen looked at the senior executives one by one, and most of them had flattering smiles on their faces, but he couldn't remember any of them's names. When he saw the gathering place of the Shimotsuki family, Lu Chen glanced sideways and saw a young man wearing glasses. This young man is the one who forged Wado Ikimonji and Enma, who are both members of the 21 Great Swordsmen, Shimotsuki Koshiro. According to the timeline of the original work, he should have left Wanokuni at this time and went to an unknown corner of the world. Thinking of this, Lu Chen couldn't help but look at him a few more times, and asked casually curiously, Shimotsuki Koshiro, why didn't you leave Wanokuni? Shimotsuki Koshiro was obviously stunned for a moment when his name was suddenly mentioned, but he suddenly raised his name. He did not expect that the famous Heavenly Punishment Admiral would actually know his name and suddenly ask questions to him. Shimotsuki Koshiro blinked blankly and couldn't help asking, why should I leave? Hearing this, Lu Chen smiled and did not continue to ask. Leave Wanokuni. Why leave? Did they do something bad? Lu Chen's sudden words made all the famous people confused. They thought they had done something wrong and couldn't help but have their thoughts flooded. Especially Shimotsuki Koshiro, he thought he had collided with Lu Chen. He broke out in cold sweat and his face became a little ugly. For a moment, the field was completely silent. But soon, they knew what Lu Chen meant by calling everyone. I summoned everyone here just to discuss various matters related to teacher recruitment. At this time, the big names and samurai realized that there was a marine academy and there were students, but there was still a lack of teachers, especially teachers in the field of martial arts. This has always been a problem that worries Lu Chen. Advertisement. He can develop some cultural lessons and even teach marine six-style skills. However, apart from that, there should be no one who is more familiar with kendo and hockey than these samurai. Everyone understood that this was the reason why they came here. For a moment, he hesitated because of his name. Everything else was fine, but the way of swordsmanship was a secret that was not passed on to other major families. Although Wano Kuni's original order has been destroyed, they are unlikely to accept it if they are asked to abandon this concept for a while. Chen also knew in his heart that this matter was not easy to handle. Just when everyone was hesitating, Shimotsuki Koshiro was the first to stand up. He looked at Chen and said firmly, "I am willing to give you all my money to teach the young people of Wano Kuni to become stronger." As soon as these words came out, everyone was extremely surprised, and the famous people looked at him like a madman. Even Chen is curious about why Shimotsuki Koshiro has such belief. It was Marine who saved Wano Kuni from the corrupt system. First believe that Marine Academy can also train Wano Kuni's children into outstanding talents. Our thinking has fallen behind, so why not invest our hope in the younger generation and let them move towards this open world? After hearing this, everyone present was deeply moved, and some daimyo even shed tears of regret. With Shimotsuki Koshiro taking the lead, all the daimyo and samurai warriors rushed to sign up to become teachers in the academy. However, I have a gracious request. Shimotsuki Koshiro looked at Chen and said, "Master Chen, if you have time, can you come to this academy to teach?" Other daimyo and samurai nodded in agreement. Chen naturally had no objection to this. He nodded and promised, "Don't worry, I will do my best to teach Wano Kuni's children." After hearing this, all the great names jumped for joy and expressed that they would also give their best to help Wano Kuni's children become guardian messengers of justice. With the support of major names, Marine Academy officially opened soon. All expenses are paid for by Wano Kuni's taxes. The world government is also happy to see this kind of thing. It only requires them to pay a certain amount of seastone transactions every year. In this way, Wano Kuni was well taken care of. Time keeps passing. Since Chen came to guard Wano Kuni, the sea area around Wano Kuni has become surprisingly calm. Occasionally, some people think that as long as they stay far enough away, Chen will not notice the arrival of pirates, and want to plunder Wano Kuni. However, these pirates were instantly defeated by the marines falling from the sky every time before they landed, and became coolies mining seastone. Over time, no pirates dared to invade this land. Chen's life gradually returned to peace. "When I get up every morning, what I see is Albia's smiling face and the loving breakfast she made." After breakfast, Albia would personally put on a cloak with the word, "Justice," printed on it, and then give him kisses on both sides of his cheeks together with little Robin. In addition to handling Wano Kuni's affairs, Chen often guides the training of Katakuri and Crocodile, and often visits Momosagi's 5 little girls. However, he would almost always see little Robin trying to keep up with Yamato and the others' training. Advertisement. Recalling the time when little Robin swore, "I want to be as good a marine as my father," in a sweet voice, Chen couldn't help but smile. Of course, he also kept his promise and went to coach the children of Marine Academy in his spare time. Every time they see him, the children are all excited and study harder. Because of his arrival, Shimotsuki Koshiro and others tried their best to train these children into excellent marines. The days passed like this, and Chen was very happy to live such a plain and happy life. On this very day, in the calm sea, an earth-shattering event happened. The holy land of Mariajoy was invaded, and many slaves were liberated and escaped. Moreover, the mastermind of this incident, Fisher Tiger, established the Sun Pirates and took in many mermaids and fishmen who were slaves of the celestial dragons. This incident was a slap in the face to celestial dragons, which made them furious. So, they sent many marine generals to attack, and after many battles, they finally succeeded in eliminating Fisher Tiger, and the Sun Pirates were scattered. However, these are not what Chen cares about. He received information that since the leader of the Sun Pirates was a fishman, the Fishman Island under the deep sea was also affected. Marine disliked them because the dignity of the world government was damaged. The pirates also became tired of Fisher Tiger's attack on the Holy Land, which caused Marine to increase its efforts to clear out the pirates. The Fishman Island is now in a dilemma. Looking at the information in his hand, Chen fell into deep thought. After a while, he summoned Katakuri and Croc Skyrim. "Teacher, what's the matter?" The two of them had just finished training and rushed over as soon as they heard Chen's summons. Chen handed them the information in his hand and said, "I want you to go to the Fishman Island this time." The two looked at each other and saw each other's confused expression. Although they knew about the troubles caused by the Sun Pirates these days and the current embarrassing situation of the Fishman Island, they still could not understand what Chen was thinking. "My teacher will not care about these things easily, but as long as he shows concern for these things, it proves that something big will happen here." Chen saw the confusion between the two, and he slowly expressed his thoughts. "The purpose of my operation is to recruit Neptune, the king of the Fishman Island, into Marine. The Fishman Island will be in a difficult situation for more than 10 years due to the incident of the Sun Pirates. The best way for them to get out of this predicament is to join Marine. Marine is the existence that maintains world order. Only by joining Marine can the Fishman Island have a real future. Moreover, there are many powerful fighters like Jinbei on the Fishman Island. With their joining, the world will be more stable and pirates will be less arrogant." After some explanations, Katakuri and Crocodile suddenly understood Chen's intentions. While they admired Chen's deep thinking, they accepted the task and were ready to go back, pack their luggage and set off. "Since this was a private recruitment, we just sent the two of them out without bringing any soldiers." After more than 10 days of sailing, a coated merchant ship slowly entered the depth of 10,000 meters. Chapter 176. Neptune's Wrath. Please customize. Advertisement. Although it is located under the deep sea, the giant tree, Sun Tree Eve, that grows near the Fishman Island has the ability to transmit sunlight from the ground here. Therefore, there are also sky and clouds here, as well as sunshine and day and night. Variety. Boom. The merchant ship on which Katakuri and Sand Crocodile were riding followed the current and broke through the bubbles in an instant, entering the dock of the Fishman Island. Stop. During special periods, all outsiders need to register when entering the Fishman Island. Just as the two got off the boat and were about to leave, the guards guarding the place immediately stepped forward to stop them. Ah, we are here to find Neptune, please go and inform us. Katakuri glanced sideways and said calmly. As soon as the words fell, the expressions of the guards guarding the dock changed drastically, and they immediately became wary and stared at the two of them. Have to say, the costumes and temperament of Katakuri and Sand Crocodile really look like villains. And as soon as the two opened their mouths, they wanted to find King Neptune. For a while, many soldiers were facing the enemy. Who are you? Looking for Neptune's man, Sand Crocodile responded with a cigar in his mouth. The identity of the two Marines is inconvenient to reveal, so naturally they cannot be revealed. But just like this 27, it aroused the vigilance of the Longyear soldiers even more. If you don't tell me, I'll arrest you first. These mermaid soldiers, holding long spears and short swords, surrounded the two people one after another. Mainly, the number of pirates and human traffickers who have sneaked into the Fishman Island recently has increased exponentially. What's more, the two people in front of me don't look like good people. And if you still want to find the king, then arresting him first is definitely the right thing to do. Are you looking for death? What kind of temper did Katakuri and Crocodile have? When they heard this, their faces immediately darkened. The soldiers, words could deter others, but they could not deter them. Katakuri released Conqueror's Haki, and the guards felt that the visitor suddenly exuded a powerful aura, like a wave that drowned everyone. The next moment, the numerous soldiers guarding him fell down like wooden piles with a plop. It seems like this trip won't go smoothly. Crocodile held a cigar in his mouth, and the expression on his face gradually became weird. He patted Katakuri on the shoulder, and the two of them walked towards Fishman Street openly. Advertisement. At the same time, the alarm in Dragon Palace City suddenly rang. Hey, are there pirates coming to cause trouble again? Neptune stroked his forehead and sighed sadly, and the three young princes also sighed. Although they were a little surprised by the strength of these pirates, they did not take them seriously. After all, because of Fisher Tiger, the situation of the Fishman Island has become increasingly bad during this period. Because of the attack on the Holy Land of Mariajoy, Marine evacuated most of the Marines stationed at the Fishman Island, and this is the only way for pirates to go to the New World, so pirates will inevitably arrive. Among them, many pirates had the crooked idea of setting up a base here after hearing that the Fishman Island lacked Marine garrison. However, they never succeeded. Neptune still has great confidence in the Fishman Island as guards. But at this moment, Prime Minister Turtle shouted and ran in a hurry. Your Majesty, it's not good. There is an enemy attack. Neptune frowned and said to Prime Minister Turtle in a somewhat reproachful tone, aren't they just little pirates? This is the first time in recent times. Prime Minister Turtle, don't always make a fuss. Boom. As soon as he finished speaking, a loud noise came from the entrance of Dragon Palace City. Your Majesty, someone is trying to break into Dragon Palace City. At this time, a Dragon Palace guard hurried over and reported with a cold sweat on his face. What? These thieves are so brave. As soon as he heard that someone was trying to break into Dragon Palace City, the eldest prince Shark Star jumped up, and the other two princes were also frightened and angry. Father, please send me to meet the enemy. Shark Star was the first to ask Ying to fight, and Emperor Star and Car Star also said the same thing. Neptune looked at his three children, his eyes full of relief. My children have also grown up. At the entrance of Ryugu Castle, Crocodile and Katakuri stand side by side. Dragon Palace City was also heavily guarded, with numerous guards. As soon as one wave was repelled, the next wave was already surrounding them. But the strength of these guards was really not good enough. Katakuri and Crocodile easily defeated them before they even exerted any force. It's just a waste of time with some trash fish. Crocodile held a cigar in his mouth and sneered wildly. The strength of fishmen is less than half on land, so don't underestimate anyone. Katakuri crossed his arms and said calmly. As soon as he finished speaking, he took action. Advertisement. The Nuo fruit's ability was activated, Katakuri's arms turned into rice cakes, and his clenched fists were like cannonballs, spinning and blasting forward. The huge impact pushed the numerous mermaid guards towards the wall, and actually penetrated the wall. Crocodile, on the other hand, turned its arm into a crescent-shaped sand blade, and then released it in huge size. The fishmen who were hit found that they had not received any substantial damage, and they all touched their bodies in surprise. However, in the next second, they found that the water in their bodies was disappearing rapidly, and eventually they fell unconscious due to lack of water. Do these soldiers have a hospital? Crocodile looked at the fallen guard and said angrily. You know, they are here to recruit, and they are very precise in their actions. It only makes the enemy weak and falls down without hurting the opponent. However, after one wave falls, another wave comes. Time passed, but not even Neptune's shadow was seen. And this time, the three princes from Dragon Palace City came out side by side, and the first thing they saw was a group of guards lying on the ground. Their hearts skipped a beat, and their eyes quickly focused on the two figures standing in the center of the battlefield. Katakuri and Crocodile apparently noticed them as well. The two of them grinned. It was this smile that fell in the eyes of the three princes, but it was no less terrifying than a demon. Moreover, just by looking at the breath, you can feel how powerful the uninvited guest is. Although there were three of them, their strength was not comparable to that of Crocodile and Katakuri, who had been trained for a long time. They could only passively hold up the weapons in their hands to resist the attacks of the two. 0. Not even one of them can beat me. After a few moves, the sand crocodile was disappointed. So he no longer wastes time and kills the opponent directly. In the Dragon Palace city, Neptune was still waiting for the news of the prince's victory in the first battle. But only a few minutes before they left, a guard stumbled in and reported to him with a look of horror, "Your Majesty, something bad has happened. The three princes have been defeated." What? Neptune's eyes widened with anger and he found it difficult to accept the news he heard. Moreover, the two thieves used the princes as a threat and demanded that the entrance to Dragon Palace City be opened, otherwise, or else they would make Dragon Palace City look good. The guard looked at the furious Neptune and added hesitantly. What a courage. Neptune's anger has reached ultimate. He angrily picked up the trident and wanted to take action himself. However, at this moment, a tall figure came in front of Neptune. Chapter 177. Sea Hero vs. Sand Crocodile, please customize. Advertisement. It was a shark whale man with storm-like eyebrows and sideburns, short black-yellow hair, two sharp teeth protruding from his lower jaw, and light blue skin. That's right, the person who came was none other than Ryugu Castle's guard captain, Jinbei. Jinbei saluted Neptune and said firmly, "Your Majesty, please calm down. Let those thieves be dealt with down here." Seeing Jinbei's appearance, Neptune's anger dropped significantly. He waved his hand at Jinbei, indicating that everything would be handled by the latter. He believed that with Jinbei's strength, as long as he took action, those thieves would soon be punished and confessed. At the entrance of Ryugu Castle, Katakuri and Crocodile frowned helplessly as they faced the Ryugu Castle soldiers who were once again surrounding them. Crocodile held a cigar in his mouth and shouted, "We have something important to discuss with Neptune, you'd better get out of the way quickly." But those guards only glanced at the guards and the three princes who fell at the feet of the two men, still guarding them vigilantly, and did not believe their words at all. Moreover, because the prince is in the opponent's hands, they do not dare to act rashly at the moment. Katakuri glanced at these helpless guards, shook his head helplessly, and wanted to activate Haki to deal with them. But before he could take action, Crocodile took the lead. A small sandstorm condensed in Crocodile's hands. He raised his hands, and the storm turned into a 100-meter-sized yellow dragon roll and struck straight forward. There was a look of horror on the faces of the guards, and they scattered in all directions, trying to avoid this powerful sandstorm. At this critical moment, a huge water wave hit the sandstorm. When it encountered the water source, the sandstorm dispersed instantly. Crocodile was startled, and saw a blue figure not far away walking slowly towards this side. Seeing him, the guards all cheered. Great. It's Captain Jinbei. Seeing the person coming, Katakuri's originally casual mood became more serious. He felt the aura of a strong man. What is the purpose of the two attacking Dragon Palace City? Advertisement. Jinbei's expression was very serious. He looked at the two people surrounded by guards and asked. Crocodile curled his lips and repeated what he just said. "I told you that I came to Neptune to discuss something important. You are not done yet, are you?" After hearing his explanation, Jinbei frowned, obviously not believing that they turned Ryugu City upside down just to talk to the king. "Your Majesty is not in the mood to hold talks today, so please go back." Jinbei looked at the two of them and issued an order to expel them. After hearing this, Crocodile suddenly became angry. "You fish people can't understand human language, so you have to have others do it. How can you accept the hard and not the soft?" Seeing Jinbei's indifferent expression, Crocodile frowned and activated sand fruit, enlarging his arm into a sharp sand blade and slashing at Jinbei. Jinbei used the powerful strength of his feet to rise into the air and dodge the blow. Under the powerful blow of the desert sword, the ground cracked and smoke was everywhere. Seeing that Jinbei dodged his move, Crocodile became angry and turned his arm into a sand blade before inserting it into the ground. This is an enhanced version of the desert sword, Desert Great Sword. This move was extremely fast, and a sharp blade made of yellow sand suddenly protruded from the ground in front of Jinbei, carrying a sharp aura, trying to behead him. Jinbei is worthy of being the captain of the guard. Faced with such a fast and violent move, he immediately reacted. The fish-man karate absorbed a lot of moisture in the air, and water jets were launched from behind him one after another, some of which were shattered. This extremely sharp sand blade was struck by the other part, while the other part rushed towards Crocodile. Croc was shocked and quickly dodged, thus avoiding these water columns. Immediately afterwards, another water wave with the power of a cannonball hit Crocodile. He was unable to dodge and was carried backwards by the huge impact of the water wave, hitting the wall hard. Crocodile got up from the ground and said through gritted teeth, "Damn, it's a water attack style." The weaknesses of his sand fruit are water and blood, while Jinbei's fishman karate can absorb moisture from the air, which completely restrains his fruit ability. Most of Crocodile's attack methods fail here, and it is also difficult to avoid Jinbei's attack. Therefore, he has been suppressed by the opponent in this battle. He had not felt this helpless feeling for a long time. Advertisement. Suddenly, Lu Chen's figure flashed in his mind. Crocodile recalled the teacher's celestial figure, and couldn't help but ignited his fighting spirit again. He wanted to become a strong man like a teacher, how could he fall down here? Damn it, I won't admit defeat. Crocodile gritted his teeth, gathered a huge sandstorm, and turned himself into yellow sand to blend into it, in order to control this terrible sandstorm. When Jinbei saw this powerful sandstorm, he frowned. He looked at the river on the side, turned over with one hand, and saw that the water in the river was thrown out like a person. Fishman Jiu-Jitsu Ocean Current one-handed over the shoulder throw. The guards had already left the battlefield during the fierce fight between the two. They all gathered in Dragon Palace City at this time, watching the shocking scene in front of them. The wind and sand in the sky collided with the ocean currents, and water droplets splashed everywhere. But gradually, the sandstorm showed its weakness, and Crocodile's figure gradually emerged under the baptism of water. Jinbei spotted this opportunity, made fists with both hands, and struck Crocodile with enough power to shatter 5,000 tiles. Before Crocodile could react, Zhao Zhao came over. Jinbei's 5,000 Wa Shokan had already hit him, and the huge force made him spit out a big mouthful. The next moment, Jinbei concentrated all his strength on his fist, activated Samewa's fist, and struck Crocodile with all his strength. At this critical moment, Katakuri turned his hands into rice cakes, forming a shield, and at the same time completely covered armament hockey on it, blocking Jinbei's attack. Boom! The power of Samewa's fist was so great that even Katakuri was moved half a step by the huge impact. Seeing that this full-force attack was blocked, Jinbei was startled and quickly jumped away from Katakuri's side. He knew in his heart that with the strength of the man in front of him, if he faced him, he would never be his opponent. For a moment, the battlefield became strangely calm. Chapter 178. As Admiral qualified for heavenly punishment. Please customize. Advertisement. Chapter 178. The fishmen guards could not understand the situation before them. I don't know if Jinbei is afraid of the powerful opponent in front of him, so he pauses his attack. They just saw that the other party intervened without respecting martial ethics, so they all stood in front of Jinbei. Get out of the way, this is not someone you can deal with. Jinbei said in a deep voice. Captain Jinbei, please let us fight together. The fishmen guards said in a clear voice that none of them were cowards who would shrink from the battle. Even if they die here today, they will not hesitate. The Fishman Island has been oppressed by humans for thousands of years, and human trafficking is common. Even in the Sea Circle Calendar 1320, Mermaid Island established diplomatic relations with the world government. This situation has not disappeared, and mermaid trafficking can be seen everywhere. Katakuri saw the looks in the eyes of these fishman guards and knew that they would not be able to solve the problem with violence today. They are here to help Mermaid Island, not to destroy Mermaid Island. We're not here to fight. Katakuri looked at Jinbei. These fishmen guards can't communicate, but the captain named Jinbei doesn't seem to be a fool. We the Fishmen Island always welcome friends, but I have never seen any kindness from you two. The opponent fought all the way and injured countless mermaids. From the beginning, we have made our intention clear. We want to see King Neptune of the Fishmen Island, but you have always blocked us. Katakuri said calmly. Jinbei frowned and immediately asked the fishman guard beside him. Did the other party come to see Neptune? Captain Jinbei. They did say they wanted to meet the king, but these two people were not good people at all, so no one believed them. A fishman guard who knew the specific situation explained. Mermaids are always hostile when they see humans. The other party's attitude was very arrogant, and a fight was inevitable. When Jinbei heard this, he understood the reason. His Majesty the King is not something anyone wants to see. Jinbei, as the captain of the guard, still has to maintain the dignity of the Dragon Palace. What if this concerns the future of Mermaid Island? Katakuri said slowly. The future of Mermaid Island. Advertisement. Jinbei and all the mermaid guards were shocked. The opponent was powerful and his origin was unknown. Who dares to say such things even when he comes to Mermaid Island? Who is he? Who are you, and what qualifications do you have to talk about the future of Mermaid Island? At this time, the gate of the Dragon Palace slowly opened, and a huge mermaid holding a steel fork slowly walked out. It is Neptune, the king of Mermaid Island. Your Majesty. Jinbei and others immediately saluted respectfully. Neptune's patience has reached its limit, and the enemy has not been solved for so long. Mermaid Island's face is almost lost. So he took action personally, but happened to hear Katakuri's speech. The other party actually mentioned the future of Mermaid Island when he opened his mouth, without taking him as the king seriously at all. It's as if Mermaid Island is something they can control at will. Let me tell you what qualifications are. Katakuri smiled slightly. Looking around at everyone, he slowly said those 4 words. Admiral. Neptune's figure was shaken, and the steel fork in his hand almost slipped. Jinbei and others turned pale with fright. Heavenly Punishment Admiral, this is no longer a character that Mermaid Island can provoke. You were sent by the Heavenly Punishment Admiral. Jinbei asked tremblingly. That's right, we came to Mermaid Island to convey orders to you under the instructions of the Heavenly Punishment Admiral. Katakuri nodded. Heavenly Punishment. Why did Admiral look at Mermaid Island? They also directly sent people here, which is a blessing or a curse for Mermaid Island. Neptune was hesitant. This was also a huge challenge for him. After a while, Neptune figured it out. CHBE. In this matter, he actually had no choice. Since you represent the Admiral, please come in. Saying that, he took the lead and stepped into the Dragon Palace. You two, please come with us. Jinbei also lowered his posture. Katakuri took steps towards the door. At the same time, he glanced at Crocodile, who was still lying on the ground. Advertisement. Crocodile was seriously injured just now, but now he gritted his teeth and got up. A mouthful of blood surged up again, and Crocodile swallowed it back forcefully. You must not be embarrassed at this time. Why don't they listen to me? Crocodile muttered unconvinced. Even though he had told Nipton that he had something to do, Jinbei ignored him. But Katakuri just overpowered Jinbei with one move, and the other party was able to calm down and negotiate properly. You are too weak. Even though Katakuri had walked a long way, he still answered this question. Use an understatement. This attitude of not being taken seriously made Crocodile almost explode. The blood seemed to surge up again, and he was forced to suppress it again. The weak have no right to speak, and Crocodile has always understood this. But when he became this weakling, he still couldn't accept it. As representatives of Lu Chen, Katakuri and Crocodile enjoyed the highest level of courtesy at the Dragon Palace. Neptune and his 3 sons were inside the palace to receive him. However, all 3 princes were injured, and it was these 2 distinguished guests who did it, causing the atmosphere to become a bit awkward for a while. I wonder what news Admiral has entrusted you with? Neptune asked directly. The tone is very respectful, which is the respect for the Admiral. It's very simple. The Heavenly Punishment Admiral invites you to join the Marine and relocate all the mermaids near Wano-kuni to be protected by the Heavenly Punishment Admiral. From now on, no one will dare to harass you again. Katakuri got straight to the point and told Lu Chen's plan. Hearing this, everyone in the palace was shocked. For a moment, no one made any movement, not even daring to take a breath, as if everyone in the palace was petrified. What can I say about this plan? It's too crazy. The entire merfolk clan relocated to Wano-kuni. What a huge undertaking. How many dangers and obstacles will appear on the road? But if it succeeds, the mermaid tribe will not have to worry about the safety of the tribe for hundreds of years in the future. Wano-kuni is famous for being easy to defend and difficult to attack. Many people who want to explore Wano-kuni have failed in the end. What's more, with the protection of the Heavenly Punishment Admiral, it should be impossible for anyone to dare to attack the mermaid tribe. No one will despise his own longevity, and what will happen to Admiral if he angers the god of punishment? Countless people have proven this at the expense of their own lives. Chapter 179. The Prophet of the Unknown, the Born King. Please decide for yourself. Advertisement. Why did Admiral help Mermaid Island? Neptune expressed the only doubt in his heart. Although the Fishmen Island is theoretically one of the countries recognized by the world government, it does not have any in-depth cooperation with Marine. I have never met Lu Chen, so it is hard to imagine that Lu Chen would provide help to them. It's always difficult to guess what the teacher thinks, but this is an opportunity for you, the Mermaid clan. Katakuri replied. He didn't know why Lu Chen did this. But in Katakuri's heart, the teacher was absolutely right. Neptune was a little disappointed. He stared at Katakuri's eyes carefully, trying to get the real answer from the other person's eyes. But Katakuri's eyes did not dodge at all, proving that he was not lying. Taking a deep breath, Neptune refused. There is no free lunch in the world, everything has a price. God's punishment admiral cannot help them for no reason, he must be asking for something. What's more, after entering Wano-kuni, life may not be so free, and there will be restrictions everywhere. Once Admiral turns his back on God's punishment, the mermaid tribe will even be in danger of being exterminated. Nowadays, although Mermaid Island is frequently attacked, it has not yet reached an existential crisis. Please tell the Admiral of Punishment when you return. Neptune was about to decline the invitation of the Admiral of Punishment. At this time, Princess Otahime entered the palace hall. With a beautiful face, long golden wavy hair, blue eyes and orange hair accessories, she is the look of a mermaid in everyone's dreams. Princess Otahime, why are you here? Seeing Otahime coming, Neptune seemed a little nervous, and immediately came to the side to help her sit down. Otahime's health has always been poor, and a slight collision may cause an open fracture. The messenger of the Admiral is here. As the Queen of Ryugu, how can I not come? Otahime smiled slightly. Both Takuri and Crocodile felt refreshed and their moods improved repeatedly. Dear guests, I am Princess Otahime. Welcome to the Dragon Palace. Katakuri was shocked. I have long heard that Otahime has a natural observation haki and is very powerful. Advertisement. Not only can you perceive the other person's thoughts and emotions, but you can even influence the mind and thoughts of others and change the other person's values. This is not a field that can be achieved through practice, it is an innate talent. Rare than Conqueror's haki. Katakuri himself is also the owner of observation haki and is very envious of this ability. If we had met the queen earlier, maybe we wouldn't have needed to call in. Crocodile whispered. It can make Crocodile feel a little regretful, which is enough to witness the power of Otahime observation haki. I can feel that you two came with the intention of peace. The previous conflict was just a misunderstanding. Now we are all friends. Otahime also smiled at Crocodile. It's a friend, it's a friend. Crocodile nodded repeatedly. If he wasn't very familiar with Crocodile, Katakuri would have thought that this kid was a talkative person. Princess Otahime, maybe you are the one who can lead Mermaid Island into the future. Katakuri then repeated his previous suggestion. Otahime was also shocked. The reason is that this plan is much better than Otahime's original plan. In order to better understand and get closer to humans, Otahime has long planned to move all the residents of Mermaid Island to land. Over the years, Otahime has personally taught the children of the Fishmen Island land knowledge, and also rescued humans who were shipwrecked. The purpose is to eliminate hatred against humans and ultimately coexist with humans. Otherwise, in this world where there are more and more pirates, the Mermaid Island under Sabayati Island will have no future after all. This is the only way to get to the second half of the Grand Line, and it will be eliminated sooner or later. Now Admiral's idea of the punishment coincides with his own, and it is even a more perfect path. What a great idea to move to Wano Kuni. Can I speak with the Admiral in person? Otahime really wants to talk to the legendary figure Lu Chen. No problem. Crocodile agreed first. He immediately took out the phone from his pocket and dialed Lu Chen's number. Katakuri shook his head silently. This kid was still far away from realizing that he had been affected by Otahime's haki. After Bulu Bulu rang twice, the phone was connected. Advertisement. King Neptune, Princess Otahime, and the three princes here. Hello, I am Lu Chen. Please give me flowers. Lu Chen's tone was full of kindness and he was the first to speak. Admiral, how did you know we would contact you? Neptune was shocked, but they hadn't spoken yet. Otahime is not the only one who has the top observation haki. Lu Chen's slightly smiling voice came. Could it be that the other party had anticipated that they would call? Neptune never imagined that someone's observation haki could reach this level. Admiral, thank you very much for your concern for Mermaid Island. We would like to know why you chose to protect Mermaid Island. Otahime asked directly. Because a natural king of the sea is about to be born on Mermaid Island. She will influence the entire world in the future, and I want to ensure that she can grow up without being harmed. The best way is to be in Wano Kuni, under my care. Quote. He knew that Otahime was doing her best for the future of the mermaid clan. The relationship between the king and the queen moved everyone present. Lu Chen had nothing to hide and directly stated the reason. Neptune originally gave Otahime a day off today, but it was Otahime who heard the noise and came over on her own. Neptune had no intention of complaining, his eyes were filled with distress. The king of the sea is about to be born. I don't know who you are referring to. Neptune was confused. I've been very busy recently, so I haven't had time to tell you, I'm sorry. Sure enough, Otahime looked at Neptune with an apologetic look. You have paid too much for the mermaid clan. This is for the future of the entire mermaid clan, I can't just think about taking care of myself. Princess Otahime, didn't you tell Neptune? Lu Chen was slightly stunned. After all, it concerns the future of the entire mermaid clan and cannot be taken lightly. Logically speaking, it's time for Otahime to give birth to Shirahoshi. The only explanation is that Otahime hasn't told her husband yet. And this position will be given to someone else in the future. Only by knowing the reasons can they make the final decision. How did Admiral know that Her Majesty the Queen is pregnant? Jinbei said suddenly. The three princes even cried with joy. They were all ready to welcome new life. Their royal family has been the master of Mermaid Island for thousands of years. Chapter 180. Luffy's grandnephew. Brother, you are now a grandfather, please customize. Advertisement. This sentence instantly woke everyone up. Neptune looked dull and opened his mouth wide, as if he could fit a Poseidon beast in. Otahime also stroked her slightly bulging body, showing a confused look. This child was not gestated for a long time, and she has never told anyone about it. Even her husband Neptune didn't know how Admiral knew about the punishment from thousands of miles away. Not only did I know Princess Otahime was pregnant, I didn't know it was a girl. Lu Chen answered Jinbei's question. Although Neptune and others have long heard of the various great achievements of the Heavenly Punishment Admiral. Little did he know that Admiral was so magical. They even knew the gender of the unborn child, and what was even more amazing was that they didn't even have the slightest doubt. It seems that the words of Admiral are the future that is about to be realized. How are you considering moving to Wano Kuni? I can help ensure your safety along the way. Lu Chen said again. Please allow us to discuss it. Neptune said immediately. Good. Next, Neptune and Princess Otahime communicated quietly for a while, and quickly reached a consensus. Admiral, we are very grateful for your concern for Mermaid Island, and we also want to go to Wano Kuni. Neptune spoke first. But this matter is too important. It is no longer just for the two of us to make a decision. We must persuade the entire nation to please give us some time. Otahime then added. No problem. Lu Chen agreed. Thank you, Admiral. Neptune and Princess Otahime both breathed a sigh of relief and let go of their worries. Wano Kuni, Marine Branch. Lu Chen hung up the phone and leaned back on the chair. He didn't mind giving Mermaid Island more time. Anyway, Poseidon, one of the ancient weapons, will not give up. Dee. A fax slowly came out of the phone bug's mouth. Lu Chen took it over and looked at it, with a smile on his face. The fax came from a never-before-seen phone number and was internal to Marine. But he knew who sent the fax without checking. Because the content of the fax is very simple, only 6 square words. My son's name is Luffy. Advertisement. At the same time. Somewhere along the Grand Line, there is a country that is in chaos. Just now, the Revolutionary Army achieved another major victory, leading the awakened civilians to overthrow the rule of the aristocracy. The nobles of this country charge heavy taxes every year, and the people have no way to make a living. Often, for a piece of bread, one has to risk one's life to fight for it. The dragon succeeded in igniting their anger. He just let the common people of this country know that the food of the noble dogs was countless times better than theirs. Resistance only begins with killing a dog. Such a small spark turned into a prairie fire. Nowadays, the nobles have become prisoners one after another, and the common people have finally become the masters of the country. They are raiding the warehouses of the nobles and distributing the food that has been piled up and is about to go moldy to their families. The dragon made them understand a truth. That is, their lives would be better without these nobles riding on their heads. Long, the initiator of all this, has already prepared to leave the country with his revolutionary army. The fire has been left, and there is no need for an igniter. Standing on the pier, I no longer pay attention to this country. Instead, he looked to the east with bright eyes. The companions of the revolutionary army have long been accustomed to Long's state. Suddenly, a baby's cry came from behind the dragon. Wow! The expression on Long's fierce face suddenly softened, and the corners of his mouth could not help but raise a slight arc. Uncle, my son's name is Luffy. I hope he can become an upright man like you. A fiery red full sun is floating on the sea level, like the hope of a new era. Long's eyes became firm again, and he turned and stepped onto the deck. Set off. Ivankov and others all watched the dragon's every move and showed a knowing smile. Let's go, everyone said. The ship slowly left the dock and headed to the next place. Wano-kuni. Chen finally put down the facts that he had been studying for a long time. Advertisement. I don't know if my brother Garp knows this news. Long probably won't tell Garp, so he can act as the messenger himself. Otherwise, wouldn't it be a bit pitiful for Garp not to know that his grandson was born? Thinking of this, Chen dialed Garp's number. Brew, the other side answered the phone. Brother, I have a good thing to tell you. Chen spoke first. Damn brother, I actually thought of calling your brother. What's going on? Isn't it because there's some trouble and I need to take action? Ha ha ha. Garp's hearty laughter came from the other end of the phone. You are going to be a grandpa. Long has a son. Chen didn't want to argue with Garp. He came to inform his brother that he was happy. Because the news was so shocking, Garp's brain instantly stopped and he was unable to react. How did you know? When did it happen? Why didn't that guy Long inform me first? After Garp realized what he was doing, he immediately asked loudly. Of course Lu Feng would not answer Garp's question, but just told him that his grandson's name was Luffy. Of course Garp understands why it is called this name. HMPH. The name is quite similar to yours. I'm afraid I'll be as useless as you in the future. Garp said disdainfully. Dare to say that Admiral is a hopeless person. I am afraid that there is only Garp in this world. But it is precisely because of the good relationship that such words can be said. Well, if your grandson is half as strong as me, you can just have fun. Chen said, not to be outdone. In the future, be careful if you get beaten up by this kid. I will train him to become the strongest marine and personally take your place in the future. Garp already has ambitious plans. Of course, he would not have thought that this grandson would become a man determined to be the pirate king in the future. By the way, where is that guy Long? I want to see my grandson. Garp then said. Sorry bro, I don't know where the dragon is either. Chen apologized. Of course he knew Garp's mood. Just because he had been hit before, Long was very cautious this time and did a good job of hiding. I haven't gotten any information about the revolutionaries for a long time. This unfilial son will s me off sooner or later. Garp angrily walked around the office several times, and finally sat back on the chair helplessly. The Marines and the Revolutionary Army are two forces with different positions. By the way, I have something to tell you. Kong will be promoted in a while, and Zephyr and I will both take a back seat. The position of the new Marshal will be chosen between you and Sengoku. This was a meeting held at the Marine headquarters in the morning, and only Admiral-level people attended. Chapter 181. Marine is about to change, please customize. Advertisement. Chen raised his eyebrows, not expecting this day to come so soon. Brother, are you willing to take a back seat? Time is not forgiving, and my bones are getting old. However, the position of Admiral will remain, but my job will be changed to be responsible for logistics. Garp had to admit that his physical functions were slowly declining. It is already difficult to deal with the frontline battle. In Garp's heart, he has always had his own justice. Retreating to the second line is probably his own choice. Otherwise, no one would force Garp to do something against his will. As for Zephyr Admiral, he also plans to become a teacher. There will be many famous characters who will become his students and become active in Marine in the future. For the position of Marshal, I'm afraid the Holy Land thinks Sengoku is the first choice. Chen already had a guess in his mind. Marshal Kong had talked to him back then, hoping that Chen could inherit his position in the future. No matter from which aspect, Marshal Kong believes that Chen is the perfect candidate. But because of a secret conflict with the Holy Land, the matter was shelved. Now that Marshal Kong 27 is about to be promoted to Commander-in-Chief, he has no way to interfere with the matter of the successor. In the end, it is up to the Holy Land to make the decision. Yes, Holy Land believes that Sengoku is more suitable. Garp did not deny this. In terms of strength, Chen is certainly the stronger one. However, many times, being powerful can lead to fear. On the contrary, Sengoku is more obedient to orders and can better perform tasks from the Holy Land. But they won't appoint them directly, but will let the two of you compete with each other. After all, the Holy Land doesn't want Marine to be divided. Garp then said. This reminded Chen of the decisive battle between the two admirals Aokiji and Akainu in the future. It was a huge loss for Marine, and it directly caused a split. It seems that the Holy Land has anticipated this situation long ago and has been intervening in the selection of marshals. But later Aokiji and Akainu chose the simplest and crudest method. As for the specific situation, Imp also said he didn't know. He, who had already planned to retreat to the second line, was no longer in the center of power. Do you want to compete for the position of Marshal? Garp wanted to know what his brother was thinking. Of course. Lu Chen replied without hesitation. After receiving the affirmative answer, Garp was quite surprised. Because then you will directly obey the orders of the Holy Land, and there will be no room for buffering. You must know that Marshal Kong had taken care of Lu Chen many times before this. Advertisement. But after thinking about it, Garp felt relieved. This younger brother of mine has always been a very competitive person. He would never let the world know that he lost the competition with Sengoku. Even though he transferred into logistics work, he could still help Lu Jun become a yuanshi. Just like after the Valley of Gods ended, he took the initiative to become an admiral, so that Lu Chen was no longer restricted by the responsibilities of the Holy Land. After chatting for a few more words about Little Robin, Lu Chen hung up the phone. Leaning on the chair, Lu Chen fell into deep thought. The Holy Land absolutely does not want to see themselves become the Marine coach, they want an obedient person. With 5 elders' methods, they will definitely not sit still and wait for death. The only thing he can do now is to wait, see what he can do, and wait for the other party to take action. Bulu bulu. The phone bug rang again. Lu Chen answered the phone. It was Calicu. Lord Lu Chen, I have investigated all the spies inside Wano-kuni and how to deal with them. Kariku's voice was much deeper than before. Ever since Lu Chen let him go in the Valley of Gods, he has been tasked with helping Lu Chen collect intelligence. Completely hidden in the darkness, he is now more at home than when he was the head of CPO. After all, there are no messy orders from the Holy Land overhead. At the same time, it can also train talented newcomers for Lu Chen. Now Lu Chi and other later members of CP9 are all active around Kariku. As teenagers, they are better able to undertake intelligence work. Keep them, these spies will become our tools. Lu Chen said. There are many spies lurking in Wano-kuni now, all from various forces. Lu Chen even knew that Marine under his command had also carried out the Holy Land's order to secretly monitor him. In addition to passing on information, he may even become an assassin at a critical moment. Lu Chen is not afraid of someone coming to assassinate him, because no one can do it. But killing these spies directly would be a waste. Making the best use of everything is Lu Chen's principle. You mean, let them be our mouthpiece? Carrie suddenly understood. Yes, what information they can obtain depends entirely on what we want to give them. Lu Chen nodded approvingly. As expected of the former CPO leader, he understood his thoughts immediately. First guess Marine has done a lot of spreading false information before. Advertisement. Don't worry, I will take care of it. Kariku promised. By the way, is it difficult to establish an intelligence station on Mermaid Island? Now that Lu Chen has begun to interfere in the affairs of Mermaid Island, he cannot let go. However, Mermaid Island is different from other places. After all, the races are different. The mermaid tribe has always been very hostile to humans, so it is very difficult to establish an intelligence station in this place. Humans can't get the core information, and the mermaid tribe is likely to leak it. It's difficult, but I'm determined to do it, all to repay you. But Kariku already has a way. Of course it is definitely not a way to see the light. 223. Lu Chen is very satisfied with Kariku's attitude. After thinking about it, he smiled and continued. After the intelligence station on Mermaid Island is established, you will have to go to Wangguo. All nations. Could it be that you are planning to take action against the kingdom? Kariku was keenly aware of this and was quite shocked. At the same time, I was very shocked. I didn't expect that Lu Chen would not stop at all. What choices will be made on the side of the teacher and the mother? Marshal Marine, in terms of merit, he is unparalleled. If so, all nations will be defeated. Lu Chen smiled lightly. Lu Chen smiled calmly. It's just Katakori's side, what should he do? Kariku expressed concern. Yes, it is a very good tool. Even if the Holy Land is against all opinions, this will damage the morale of all Marines. The tone and attitude seem to be reporting something trivial. In that Holy Land, can you still hesitate? This child. He grew up watching it. So all nations must deal with it. I never wanted to be a pirate. That's right. Not long after arriving in Wano-kuni, he took action against Mermaid Island and all nations. Let Katakori make his own choice in this matter. Likewise, it will also greatly encourage pirates and dark forces. Chapter 182. Conquest of all nations, Ka-er's choice please customize. Advertisement. Half a month later, as this Wano-kuni. Jinbei stood on the deck and looked at the scene ahead. Following Jinbei were 10 large ships. This is the pioneer immigrant of the Fishmen Island. After deliberation, Neptune and Princess Otahime finally decided to send 5,000 fishmen first. These are strong fishmen who can withstand the storms along the way. They will come to see for themselves if Wano-kuni can be their new home. When you see the Heavenly Punishment Admiral later, don't forget what I said to you. Katakori reminded from the side. I understand, I must show humility. He nodded seriously. Divine Punishment Admiral's deeds have long been spread throughout the Grand Line. Jinbei can often be heard when he is on the Fishmen Island. My heart has long been full of awe for the heavenly punishment admiral. That's right, if you mermaids offend our teacher, you may be exterminated at any time. Crocodile was nearby to scare Jinbei. That's enough, don't sow discord between us and the mermaid tribe. This is not the teacher's intention. Katakuri scolded. Okay, I won't say anything anymore. Crocodile immediately surrendered. At least during this period of sailing, Crocodile realized that there was a big gap between himself and Katakuri. So he didn't dare to disobey Katakuri. Jinbei was really shocked. Of course, it's not the fear of Crocodile, but the punishment from heaven. If they anger each other, the consequences may be very miserable. Upon learning that the advance immigrants from the mermaid tribe had arrived at Wano-kuni, Chen immediately asked Katakuri to bring the representatives over. Ryugu XXX Jinbei, I have seen the heavenly punishment admiral. Jinbei kept his head down after entering the room. He always kept the word, senior, in mind. But Chen recognized Jinbei's identity at first sight. She has wind-like beauty, stacked horns, short black hair and two sharp fangs. There are not many sharks, whales and mermaids with such obvious facial features. Advertisement. And the bathrobe embroidered with patterns. Look up Jinbei, Haisha doesn't lower his head. Chen said with a smile. Hearing the Tianpu admiral's tone seemed quite kind, so Jinbei raised his head cautiously. Jinbei was shocked when he saw Chen's face. God's punishment. Admiral is so young. It was unimaginable that someone in this grade could create so many world-shaking events, which immediately put Jinbei to shame. I even think that it is difficult to meet a more legendary figure than Chen in my life. Especially since Admiral knew his name as Sea Hero, Jinbei was even more excited. Have you experienced any difficulties along the way? Chen asked. There were some pirates who wanted to take advantage of the opportunity to rob, but they were all repelled by us. Jinbei said. In addition to female mermaids, male mermaids are also very popular slaves. Remember the names of those pirate groups? Chen looked at Katakuri. I remember everything. Katakuri nodded. Pass this down, kill these pirates if you see them, and tell the whole world that if you dare to attack the mermaid tribe from now on, you will have trouble with me. Chen said lightly. Upon hearing this, Jinbei knelt directly in front of Chen. What a great kindness. We, the mermaid clan, will never forget it. From now on, I, Jinbei, will definitely repay your kindness. With Chen's words, Jinbei believes that the probability of the mermaid tribe being attacked will be greatly reduced. Get up, I have something else to ask you. Chen personally stepped forward to help Jinbei up. It's okay to just say it. Jinbei's eyes were firm. It seemed like Chen wouldn't hesitate if he asked him to get into the frying pan. The position of Marshal Marine will be vacant soon. I will compete with Sengoku for the position of Marshal. If you mermaids can join Marine, you will definitely be a great help to Marine in the future. Chen said slowly. As soon as these words came out, Katakuri, Crocodile and others were shocked. They didn't expect that such an important change would happen to Marine just after they visited the Fishman Island. Admiral, I and the 5,000 elite fishmen I lead will all be loyal to you. Jinbei said with his hand. Jinbei understood that this was an opportunity given to the fish people by Chen. Only when the fishmen show their strength will humans not look down upon them. Okay, after you rest for a few days, you will start training with Wano-kuni's Marine. Tu was very satisfied. Katakuri was about to retreat with Jinbei and others, but was stopped by Chen. Advertisement. Seeing this scene, Crocodile was quite jealous. I thought Chen was going to give Katakuri another important task. This made Crocodile determined to practice hard to improve his strength. He will also become Chen's right-hand man in the future. I plan to conquer all nations, what do you think? Chen got straight to the point. Facing Katakuri, there is nothing to hide. Katakuri was stunned for a moment, with a look of surprise on his face. After he joined Marine, he had thought that such a day would come. I will fight with my family. But he never thought that this day would come so quickly, leaving him unprepared. After a long moment of silence, Katakuri realized that he already had the answer. I will fight for justice. Katakuri said solemnly. Not bad. Chen nodded. The situation was similar to what he expected. Katakuri would definitely stick to his ideals. I just hope that the teacher will be merciful and not kill all my brothers and sisters. This is Katakuri's only hope. Anyone who is an enemy of Chen will end up like this. Don't worry about this, your family's future will be in your hands. Chen nodded. Chen knows very well the relationship between family members in Katakuri's heart. I am not such a cold person and I don't mind leaving the choice to the other party. Teacher, after you become the Marshal in the future, can you let me go to guard Impel Down if the money is good? Katakuri made another request with a look full of anticipation. Entering Impel Down means never seeing the light of day. There is the dark top of despair. If he can become the director of Impel Down, he can meet his family every moment. Even if the former brothers and sisters have become prisoners. No problem, I will issue orders after I become Marshal. Chen agreed to Katakuri's request. After all the countries are conquered by him, Katakuri's family will probably spend most of the rest of their lives in Impel Down. Becoming the prison director of Impel Down is the only way for Katakuri to see his family. Likewise, it is also a good place for him. That is the only status comparable to the admiral other than the Marine Admiral, and it is enough to match Katakuri's own strength. Chapter 183. Battle of Marshals, the new 3 Admiral, please customize. Advertisement. Chapter 183, The Battle Between Marshals, the new 3 Admirals. Time flies. Chen visited Marines training today. The 5,000 elite mermaids brought by Jinbei have been perfectly integrated into the Wano Kuni Marine. It has become a usable combat force, instead of the scattered sand before. Although the mermaid tribe has strong individual combat capabilities, they do not have any training system. When encountering a battle, they all rush forward. This has a lot to do with the fact that Mermaid Island has always been isolated from the world before this. Being able to train the mermaid tribe to such an extent must be attributed to Jinbei. For this reason, Chen also specially praised Jinbei. It's an honor to serve Admiral. Jinbei was very excited. During the time he entered Wano Kuni, he felt more and more that he had made the most correct move in his life. God's Punishment Admiral is so young and vying for the position of Marine Marshal. Following Chen, their mermaid clan also has a bright future. Jinbei had also contacted Mermaid Island a long time ago and told Neptune and Princess Otahime about the situation here without any secret. When the next batch of the Fishmen Island immigrants will be dispatched depends on the decision of the king and princess. Work hard 227. With your strength, you will have a foothold in Marine in the future. Chen nodded. What Jinbei lacks now is merit. Encouraged by Chen, Jinbei became even more motivated. Admiral, big news. Notice from headquarters to all Marines. A soldier ran over in a hurry, holding a fax in his hand. Chen took it and looked at it, with a smile on his lips. Finally come. At the same time, all Marines around the world have received this advisory. Newspapers also reported the incident immediately. Originally, Marshal Marine was promoted to Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. The original Army Admiral Garp and the original Marine Admiral Zephyr retained the Admiral position and took a back seat. The original Marine Vice Admirals Aokiji, Kizaru, and Akainu took office and became the 3 new admirals. But for the most critical position of Marshal, the announcement did not mention who would succeed it. The news of such changes in Marine shocked the whole world. The position of Marshal Marine should logically belong to my uncle, but the Holy Land did not directly appoint him. It seems that the Holy Land does not trust Uncle Kai very much. Advertisement. Long sat in the cabin, holding the newspaper and lost in thought. As Long matures, more truths can be seen in his eyes. No matter in terms of meritorious service or reputation among Marines, Chen is the perfect choice. There are rumors that Sengoku will compete with Chen for the position of Marine Marshal. In Long's view, Sengoku is not qualified to compare with Chen. For some reason, Long remembered what Chen had said to him before. I see an uncertain future in you. A bitter smile appeared on Long's lips. Let alone his own future, Long is not sure what will happen after the connection. But Daddy Garp took a back seat, which made Long relieved. Until now, Rear Admiral will never encounter his father directly on the battlefield. Dragon, it's here. Ivankov opened the door. New. Long stood up and walked to the deck. The breeze blew on my face, and an island came to me. I smell decay. Let's bring new ideas. There is no doubt that another state that oppresses civilians is about to be overthrown. Elsewhere around the world, there are also discussions. The newly appointed 3rd Admiral has no topics to talk about, and everything is focused on the vacant Marshal position. Especially within Marine, there has been a huge quarrel over this. Many Marines don't understand why Chen can't just take over Sora's position. But to make the position of Marshal vacant. The news that Sengoku is going to compete with Chen has spread throughout Marine. Most Marines and Dragons are the same, think Chen is more qualified to be Marine's boss. It's not that Sengoku isn't good enough, it's just that it's not as good as Chen. An island on the Grand Line. Whitebeard picked up the wine bowl and drank it all in one gulp, then showed the bottom of the empty bowl to the other party. The only person Whitebeard can treat with such caution is Shanks. Shanks also drank the bottom of the bowl dry to show his respect for Whitebeard. Who would have thought that in a place as vast as the Grand Line, both parties could meet on this island? Advertisement. What do you think of the changes in Marine here? Whitebeard inevitably brought up the recent major events that have triggered world discussion. I'm afraid this is a precursor to a big move. These 3 newly appointed admirals are not simple either. Shanks said with a frown. It is said that there are 3 things a new official needs to do when taking office. The other party will definitely launch a purge against the pirates to consolidate their admiral position. It's just 3 little guys, I mean the position of Marshal. Whitebeard shook his head. Aokiji, Akainu and Kizaru are nothing to worry about in Whitebeard's eyes. In Whitebeard's opinion, no matter how strong they are, they can't be any better than the older generation Garp and others. The only person who really makes Whitebeard feel afraid is Chen. In my opinion, there is no suspense about that one. It must be Chen. Shanks had already determined that Chen was the final winner. That's right. Compared with Chen, Sengoku is a bit mediocre after all. I just don't know if the Holy Land will let Chen be the Marshal. Whitebeard's intelligence system has also penetrated into Marine. He knows some information about high-level officials. There will be no suspense. If the Holy Land doesn't agree now, it will give in sooner or later. Shanks drank another large bowl of wine very depressed. At this moment, Marco walked up to Whitebeard. They had no intention of dying. The other party made a big fanfare, and the news would soon reach Shanks, so there was nothing to hide. Shanks' bowl fell to the floor. Whitebeard's expression changed, and his expression became much more solemn. Click. Same. Whitebeard nodded. Lu Chen has taken action. Several warships have left Wano Kuni, and they have openly launched a campaign to conquer Fang country. Whitebeard said slowly. However, if the crew members proposed this kind of strategy, they would be scolded by the captain without exception, and some would be kicked off the ship directly. Whispered something to Whitebeard. As the saying goes, the rabbit dies and the fox is sad. If you can't protect yourself, you will be next. One pirate actually took the opportunity to say that this was an excellent opportunity to attack Wano Kuni. Whitebeard did not laugh at his opponent, he also felt extremely fearful. As Whitebeard expected, the news that Lu Chen was going to conquer Wano Kuni quickly spread throughout the Grand Line. Wang Guo, is it going to be over too? He had a shocked look on his face. Without Lu Chen, Wano Kuni must be empty. The nations that were the target this time fell into despair and panic. Shenk's eyes were full of curiosity, but he didn't ask. Chapter 184. All nations are afraid, Ant is angry, please customize. Advertisement. Cake Island of all nations. Today is the day of the Big Mom Pirates banquet, and the Charlotte family is gathered together. Delicious cakes filled every table. What was placed in front of Auntie's throne was an exaggeratedly huge cake. There is a thick layer of cream on it, which has flowed to the table. According to past practices, it must be a day of laughter and laughter. At family dinners, no one dares to look unhappy. However, now everyone's face is full of fear, and they are twisting uneasily. Feeling like sitting on pins and needles. The reason is very simple. Just now they learned the news that Admiral, the punishment of heaven, was about to attack all nations. No one thought that they would become the target of Admiral's attack so quickly. Moreover, the other party was so blatant that the whole world knew about it. No one dared to suggest escaping, as that would be the first to bear the Ant's wrath. But if they had to fight against the heavenly punishment Admiral, they would feel even more trembling. The opponent is the marine hero, the legendary Admiral. Countless pirates have been killed at the hands of the opponent, and I am afraid that I will soon be the next one. The atmosphere of the banquet was extremely oppressive. It's as if this is not a banquet, but someone's funeral. The Ant was sitting on the throne, with an angry look on her face. The news she just received ruined her appetite. Even if the delicious cake is in front of me, my mother can't even take a bite. This made the Ant feel anxious. Jin, who was wearing a mask, was holding a baby and sitting next to the Ant. No one could tell what his expression was. Just the occasional cry of a baby would make Jin go to comfort him. It proves that the person sitting here is still alive. Isn't this true? My second brother is actually going to attack us. We are family members. In the end, it was the eldest son, and the Minister of Sweets, Perospero, couldn't help but speak. His tone was filled with hesitation and uneasiness in his anger. But it was Katakuri who made him angry first. As soon as these words came out, everyone in the family was shocked and frightened. Advertisement. According to intelligence, Katakuri is also in Wano Kuni's army this time. Before this, Katakuri was the most popular brother in his family, and there was even a fan group within the family. Now this most popular brother is starting to deal with them. Especially Katakuri knows them very well and knows everyone's abilities. They are also very familiar with the terrain of all nations, allowing them to do everything they want. It also casts a shadow over this upcoming battle. Some younger family members have begun to secretly wipe their tears. Now they have to experience the pain of families killing each other, which is not something they can bear. Under the tremendous pressure, I couldn't help crying. Traitor! Traitor! The Ant also slapped the table in front of her and roared. In an instant the table was reduced to pieces. The cake on top also spread out and splashed on everyone. But no one dared to erase it, for fear that they would become a substitute for Auntie's anger. When the Ant is angry, it is best not to provoke her. At this time, the Ant is irrational. Katakuri, you actually brought Lu Chen to attack Wangguo. I want you to be torn into pieces. Auntie continued to roar. And you, Lu Chen, turned my most outstanding work into marine. I want you to stay in the world forever and become my food. Auntie's feelings for Katakuri are completely different from those of the other children. A lot of emotion and hope have been poured into Katakuri. It is something that those weak children cannot enjoy at all. Those children can only be sent out for marriage just to increase their allies. In Auntie's opinion, this is the best destination for garbage. Sometimes, she even regrets giving birth to such useless garbage. However, Katakuri is different. He is an important combat force on his side. In the future, I will become a great help to the Pirate King. Now she turns her brows to deal with her, which is hard for her to accept. Seeing Auntie's raging rage, everyone turned their attention to Jin. Among those present, only Jin, the new husband, could speak. Let the Ant calm down her anger. The Admiral is attacking 10,000 kingdoms. We must first think of a strategy to deal with it. Jin finally spoke. Although it sounded like nonsense, it calmed down the Ant. Incompetent rage will not solve the problem. Advertisement. Auntie is not able to achieve the power she has today just by relying on brute force. She also has a smart mind, but her fiery temper is even more impressive. Please give me flowers. When you were at Wano Kuni, you experienced Lu Chen's methods. What can you do against this B********** D Lu Chen? Auntie looked at Jin. In Auntie's opinion, only Jin among those present could provide a valuable plan. It is not a wise choice to fight against the Admiral on land. It is better to choose a sea battle and ambush them on the waterway they must pass through. Jin said. But his tone seemed a little cold. What he is more concerned about now is actually the baby in his arms. This baby perfectly inherited the characteristics of the Lunaria tribe, and its body can produce fire. It actually changed Jin's mentality. Children were the most important thing in his eyes. Good idea. I want to prevent Lu Chen's ships from entering Wangguo. Auntie nodded in agreement. Immediately start arranging manpower to carry out this matter. Everyone present was assigned their respective tasks. Jin, who just came up with this idea, suddenly felt uneasy. He recalled the past in Wano-kuni and the fear of being dominated by Lu Chen's powerful power. Can this plan of mine really stop the Heavenly Punishment Admiral? Even a place as impregnable as Wano-kuni has failed. Can Wangguo persevere? Perhaps retreating from all nations as a whole is the best way. Yet the words could not be spoken. Those who dare to talk about leaving in front of Auntie have not left Wangguo alive. As time passed day by day, information from the front was also coming in a steady stream. A total of 5 warships were dispatched, and the person who stood on the deck every day and commanded them was Katakuri. The other party had no intention of concealing his whereabouts and came straight towards Wangguo. As for the Heavenly Punishment Admiral Lu Chen, he was nowhere to be seen. People searching for information did not dare to get too close. The members of the Big Mom Pirates also fell to rock bottom. Originally, they still had some illusions in their hearts, thinking that even if Katakuri joined Marine, he would be Lu Chen's disciple. He will also worry about the identity of his family members and not participate in this battle. Who would have thought that Katakuri not only came, but also looked like a commander? The only thing they can do now is to abandon their illusions. Completely obey her mother's orders and fight to the death with Marine. Chapter 185. The 5 Elders Resolution, please customize. Advertisement. Holy Land, Mariajoy. Lu Chen launched a military operation and the news of attacking Wangguo had already reached here. The 5 elders gathered together with solemn expressions. A newspaper was placed on the table in front of them. Another big event. The Heavenly Punishment Admiral dispatches from Wano-kuni to attack the nations. The headlines in the newspapers were very exaggerated, as if what was about to happen was a war. Lu Chen, you acted without permission again. Someone smiled bitterly. It is Marine's duty to attack pirates. The people who spoke for Lu Chen were the gray-haired 5 elders. But Wangguo is not an ordinary pirate. Once it fails, where will Marine's face be? If it's just Lu Chen, there should be no problem. The other 5 elders said that several people also agreed with this view. After all, Lu Chen's experience in 007 is here. In this sensitive period, does Lu Chen do this because he wants the position of Marshal? Eliminating Wangguo will also increase his reputation in Marine. That's definitely the case. I just didn't expect that someone who refused to be promoted to Admiral would be interested in the position of Marshal. The 5 elders all smiled knowingly and looked at each other. After enjoying power, it is difficult to go back to the original state. Ambition and desire will expand. The 5 people who are working have also worked hard to climb to this position. They know very well what power can bring to them. In their view, no one can resist the temptation of power and calendar. Lu Chen is young after all. He doesn't understand that the position of Marshal must belong to him. The gray-haired 5 elders sighed. In his opinion, this is Lu Chen's only disadvantage today. Yeah, Sengoku can't compete with him. Originally I just wanted to give him a try, but I started to act on my own. Originally, the idea for 5 elders was very simple. Kong was appointed as the commander-in-chief of the 3 armed forces, leaving the position of Marshal vacant, and his functions were temporarily left to Kong on a part-time basis. If Lu Chen wanted this location, he would definitely express his wishes to the Holy Land. When the 5 elders agree to Lu Chen's request, it will be equivalent to giving Lu Chen a favor and face. Otherwise, if Lu Chen is directly appointed as Marshal, the other party may not appreciate it and take it for granted. Advertisement. As for Sengoku's role in this matter, he is just a poor tool man. But they didn't expect that Lu Chen didn't act as they imagined, but had his own plan. I thought this was an opportunity to tighten control over Lu Chen, but I didn't expect it would cause trouble. With Admiral's combat power so strong, it's better to hold it in your hands. What to do next? A difficult problem seems to be before us. After a long silence, the 5 elders finally discussed a decision. That is waiting for the outcome of this war of nations. Based on Lu Chen's victory or defeat, the position of Marshal will be determined. They have plenty of time and don't care to wait a little longer. The second half of the Grand Line, the waters of all nations. Several warships cut through the sea like sharp knives, shooting straight in the direction of Cake Island. The soldiers and generals on the warship were very nervous. They were about to face the owner of Wangguo Island, Auntie. They have all heard more or less the infamous rumors about Auntie. Many of these stories make people tremble. They also have their own intelligence system, and they have learned that Big Mom is waiting. This battle between the 2 sides is inevitable. But the Admiral, the punishment they have been following, has never appeared. They were commanded by Katakuri. Katakuri now also has a high reputation in Wano-kuni's marine. Obsessed with justice, his ideas were recognized by many officers and soldiers. Many people also regard Katakuri as their idol. But this time to attack the 10,000 kingdoms, they still need to have the Admiral in charge to make them feel at ease. But until now, Katakuri's command has not made any mistakes. It also gives some people some peace of mind. The sailing along the way was also smooth, and we have entered the waters of Wangwo Island. On the contrary, this is what makes them feel strange. Could it be that the Big Mom pirates are not planning to intercept them on the sea, but choose to fight to the death on the island? This is not common sense. As long as one warship is sunk, a large number of marines and ability users can be wiped out. Those who can fight decisively at sea usually do not delay fighting on land. Advertisement. I heard that there is a cake island in Wangwo. The whole island is made of cakes, isn't it? Katakuri looked at Robin shaking his trousers and smiled slightly. This reminded him of his own family. He had several younger sisters who were about the same age as Robin. I haven't seen them for a long time, and I don't know if they can still remember the face of my brother. That's right, there are endless cakes there, made up of big cakes and cream. Katakuri stroked Robin's hair. Robin also grew up watching Katakuri, and is similar to his sister. Even because we have been together longer, we are closer than my sister. Okay, we'll have tons of cake to eat, right Ace? Robin turned to look at a younger boy. HMPH. I don't like to eat cake. I want to eat meat. Eating meat can make me stronger. Ace said with a puffed mouth and crossed his arms on his chest. It looks like he is imitating an adult. Cake. We like to eat cake. Cake is the most delicious. The three Hancock sisters also came over. In Daughter's Island, cake is a very scarce food. Usually it is only possible to find the cake after plundering the merchant ship. Marines' in-house cakes are only served during festivals. After all, eating too much desserts can easily lead to weight loss, which does not meet Marines' dietary standards. Then you should be careful. I heard that someone in the cake island ate too much and burst his stomach. What came out was not blood, but cream. Yamato said to scare a few people. Sure enough, these words were very effective, and several girls were a little scared. Touching my belly, I decided not to be too full later. This time the attack on 10,000 Kingdoms, Ace, Robin, Hancock sisters, Yamato, Robin and Hiyori all came with them. It's time for them to see the world. Go over there and play, don't get in the way here. Crocodile came over and shouted. HMPH. I hate you the most. Several children dispersed in a hurry, not knowing who said this. Crocodile could only smile bitterly. It seemed that he was not liked by children. We haven't encountered any trouble so far. Isn't it too peaceful? Crocodile said casually.